Guillaume Alvarez, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all for the round number 5 of the European Virtual Fun Cup Series. Round 5 of this fantastic championship put together by Andrew and Riley Phillips. We are live on Riley Motorsports channel, Twitch and YouTube, as well as Facebook, wherever you are in the world following us. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us for what will be a fantastic night of close and wheel-to-wheel racing, no doubt, as it has been the case since the kickoff of this series a couple of weeks ago in Assen, the Netherlands. We've been through a couple of very great French tracks over the past few weeks: Dijon, Manicourt, Le Dénon, and now Paul Ricard. One of the most modern facilities in France, host of the Formula One French Grand Prix, and this time around for the round 5th of the European Series of Virtual Fun Cup. It is my pleasure to have by my side for tonight Chaz Ricard, fellow commentator from Britain. Hello, Chaz. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Guillaume. I'm really looking forward to this one. Fun Cup has been something that I've had my eye on for years around all of the British circuits, and obviously the European one as well now, going around the fantastic but somewhat Marmite Paul Ricard. And I tell you what, these cars, it's not really a combination I'd usually think of around here, but I tell you what, with them being centrally seated, and, well, we've seen a lot of the guys oversteering a lot in practice, it's certainly going to be an exciting evening for those involved. And even if we do have a small grid this evening, I tell you what, the racing is going to be absolutely top-notch as always, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And as you can see on the clock, we still have a bit more, 35 minutes of qualifying practice running on this track. This is the same format pretty much as we had in total 50 minutes of qualifying, 35 now left. Then we're going to go for a small break and 2 races of 30 minutes each, 1 hour of pure racing in total, with the points split obviously between first and second race. As you said, Chaz, a smaller grid than usual due to the fact that there's been a couple of changes since the last time we were together in Le Dénon. No more racing on the Sunday night. We're on Tuesday, July 14th. This is actually the National Day in France. So for those of you following us, good National Day in France, the 14th of July. But a small change, as we said, due to the various commitments of the drivers usually attending those events. As you might have noticed, I'm sure you have as well, Chaz, but the real racing is back on track. And we had to make a choice to switch from one day to the other to allow our fellow drivers to join us for the rest of the series. Hopefully there'll be, once again, a lot of them joining us on Tuesday's night to compete. This is the case tonight. We'll have between 10 and 12 drivers on track. But thanks again for joining us. Chaz, what have you been up to lately since the season resumed for the past 2 or 3 weeks?
Well, just this weekend gone, I'm showing the battle scars of some horrendous sunburn that I picked up at the Snetterton circuit in the east of the UK. I was actually commentating on the Sports 2000 series. They're little prototype cars, 200 brake horsepower, but they only weigh about 500 kilos. And it's a series that's been around for a very, very long time, and it's got a great following. Quite a small grid that we had over the weekend, only 16, 17 cars, but even still, brilliant racing all the same. Other than that, it's mainly esports for me. I mean, as you probably know, Guillaume, esports has taken off a hell of a lot over the course of the coronavirus outbreak. Of course, it is a very terrible thing that has happened, but at the same time, esports has managed to thrive from it, and series like this have come out of the woodwork. So I think it's been a very beneficial time for all of us, and it's really brought it into the public eye and shown how great it can be, hasn't it?
Absolutely. That's interesting, talking about esports. I'd like to hear more about your own view regarding this real big boost that esport has been through, and hopefully will continue to go through for the years to come. Because as you guys know, our fellow commentator and friend Chris McCarthy is sometimes with us covering these races as well, is involved a lot as well in virtual racing. What have you been up to during those months of lockdown? You've been busy as well commentating on esports. In what sort of series do you mostly commentate on?
Well, one of my first gigs when lockdown got put in place was with Chris McCarthy himself, actually. We did the Motorsport UK Karting E-Series, which was a very exciting couple of days with Alpha Live. Those guys put on a brilliant show, and Chris and I really had a good laugh with that one. And so that was actually my first time commentating on virtual karting. I've only done one karting gig before, and that was the Bookmore Park 24 Hours last year in 2019. But other than that, it's an array of different things, really. The GT series that I cover a couple of as well. I did the iRacing Le Mans 24 hours not too long ago with Race Spot TV. And I actually have my own series as well, which is dubbed the British Boring Car Championship rather than the British Touring Car Championship.
Pretty good, pretty good.
We use a Volkswagen Jetta diesel and basically paint them to look like 1990s British super touring cars. I'm actually joined on that one by the current British Touring Car Championship commentator David Addison, which I'm very grateful to work with. And yeah, we have a lot of fun on that. It's a good thing for David to get involved in as well. He really enjoys sort of taking a bit more of a relaxed approach to the commentary, and yeah, like I say, we have a lot of fun with it. But that's the beauty of esports and sim racing, is that one day you could be commentating on a series such as this and the European Fun Cup, and the next day you could be doing some Formula 3 or doing like an endurance race with LMP cars. And it's just crazy that you can jump between the two so quickly, but that's what makes it so versatile and, of course, helps us out as commentators, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very good training when it comes to the real racing. If you got a chance to do it as well, but it's such a strange and special time that we've been through for this season, seeing that virtual racing has become the main thing for the past few months due to exceptional circumstances, obviously. But even before, you know that as well, for the past few seasons, for years actually, the sim racing has been really gaining a lot of attention and gaining in credibility as well, with crossovers between the real and the virtual world. But that's a good thing that the drivers and a lot of people involved in sim racing, were put more on the map due to the situation we've been through. But hopefully we'll keep on doing the same. And now that virtual has got even more into the attention of the public, I'm sure that even though real racing is happening, why not having races in between? You could well race in the weekend, and during the week, as much as we do tonight, you could actually have a bit of break, but still enjoying some virtual racing, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've spent a few years in a mainly British community on iRacing, where the British Touring Car Champion Ash Sutton races with us, and there's a couple of different touring car championships that he does in the weeks when he can. Obviously, he's a very busy boy. When he's not racing in the British Touring Car Championship, he takes part in these leagues as well. They are usually on Thursday nights, the main one that he competes in. And he actually took part in what became almost the official Australian TCR league as well on iRacing, and he did a lot of stuff with those guys. And the sort of real driver connection has really inspired a lot of these championships to come out of the woodwork, and they get a lot of promotion and a hell of a lot of viewers as well. I mean, Australian Supercars, for example, they put on a really good show and put out one hell of an E-Series, and everyone loved it, and it was very well received. The drivers enjoyed it as well. There was a bit of controversy here and there, but that's I think what's really drilled it home to everybody is the fact that, I mean, we've seen, I'm not going to go too much into it, but we've seen a couple of drivers that have been fired from their real life drives and have been sort of losing sponsors, and there's been a lot of stuff like that because we have to take this as seriously as real racing. And if they're involved and they're still representing a brand, whether that be in the virtual world or the real world, they have to take it as seriously as that. And I think it was moments like that, despite it being a sort of negative moment for that person or that driver, I think it's actually had a positive impact on sim racing and esports, because it's shown how seriously it needs to be taken. It's really put its mark on the map, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And some people were actually surprised to see the amount of attention and the amount of seriousness that most of the drivers were putting into the virtual racing, and it led sometimes to a bit of misinterpretation about the events that you've briefly described regarding some drivers getting involved in some trouble regarding virtual racing, but in real life. So you could really see that the two, at some point ended up being actually connected. So yeah, it shows how serious actually and how credible the virtual racing world has become over the past few months. And all the drivers getting involved into the series, they just keep on saying that this is a perfect training ground for us, waiting for the real racing to resume. But even in between, it's a perfect way to keep yourself fit, to keep yourself sharp, and to have some practice just before the events, after or before the events. So let's just keep it that way, and as long as we can. Actually, this series has seen, talking about calendars, this series has seen a small change as we're here on board of Maxime Linard, who's going to try to go around Riley Phillips, the guy behind all this with his father Andrew. There's been a small change regarding the championship with the Dubai round being put forward into the series. That's something worth noticing because no, sorry, my apologies. Dubai was supposed to be the next one, round number 6, but it has been pushed forward until the end of the series. So Dubai will be used as closing round in this year's series. So for you to know. And you were talking about the viewers, Chaz, for a little bit. We've been fortunate all through this series to have different viewers, all with different languages. We have viewers from Belgium, from France, from Britain, from all over Europe, basically, and we have as well mostly French speaking viewers. So if you don't mind me, I'll do a small intro in French and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, mate.
Thank you. Voilà, bonsoir à toutes et tous, chers amis. On se rejoint en direct ici sur la chaîne Twitch, YouTube, ou que vous soyez à nous suivre en direct pour la manche numéro 5 du championnat européen de Fun Cup virtuel. Nous sommes ici sur le circuit, vous l'aurez reconnu, du Paul Ricard, le test track du Paul Ricard dans le sud de la France. Nous avons un magnifique soleil, des conditions de piste éclatantes et idéales pour cette 5e épreuve depuis l'entame du championnat. Nous sommes ici au cœur de la série, la séance qualificative. Il reste 25 minutes au compteur jusqu'au terme de cette séance. Et comme vous pouvez le voir sur la gauche de votre écran, eh bien, Riley Phillips, le jeune pilote britannique, eh bien, on le répète, à l'origine de ce championnat avec son père Andrew Phillips. Riley Phillips est pour l'instant en tête de la hiérarchie avec un temps pour l'instant référence en 2 minutes 31 et 9 dixièmes, 2 dixièmes de mieux sur Maxime Linard. Maxime Linard que vous avez à l'écran juste derrière Riley. Donc voilà les deux leaders pour l'instant dans la hiérarchie qui sont en train de se disputer légèrement le bout de terrain. C'est certain que la qualification fait partie de cet exercice. Si on veut tenter d'avoir le tracé le plus clair possible devant vous afin de pouvoir boucler le tour le plus rapide qui soit. Pour l'instant, ça joue un peu au chat à la souris entre Riley Phillips et Maxime Linard. 2 dixièmes qui les séparent et on verra bien qui pourra émerger au terme de cette séance qualificative et s'assurer donc de la pole position pour la première des 2 courses au programme de ce soir. On le rappelle, le programme reste inchangé avec 2 courses de 30 minutes. La première donc d'ici une petite demi-heure, une fois cette séance qualificative conclue. 30 minutes de course avec la grille de départ déterminée par cette séance pour l'instant que nous sommes en train de vivre en direct. Et puis la deuxième épreuve de 30 minutes qui démarrera selon la règle de la grille inversée avec le top 8 qui se verra donc inversé sur la grille avec le pilote qui terminera en 8e position, qui héritera de la pole position. Vous connaissez la formule. Cela fait maintenant 2 épreuves à Lédenon et à Manicourt, si vous avez été avec nous, qu'on s'en tient à ce système qui marche très très bien puisque le championnat avait débuté sous un format davantage endurance avec cette très très belle vue aérienne, pourrais-je dire, de Maxime Linard et Riley Phillips. C'est ici d'ailleurs qu'on peut distinguer sur le jeu Assetto Corsa les fameuses lignes rouges et bleu qui bordent ce circuit du Paul Ricard. Donc, ce sont les dégagements macadamisés qui forment la signature esthétique de ce tracé du sud de la France, entièrement rénové il y a quelques années. Ce sont bien sûr des lignes qui se veulent avant tout sécuritaires, puisqu'elles empêchent les pilotes de trop manger, on va dire, sur les extérieurs de la piste. Ce sont des lignes qui sont conçues pour ralentir les voitures en perdition et leur permettre de revenir sur la piste en toute sécurité. Des dégagements macadamisés qui, au fil des années, ont remplacé les traditionnels bacs à gravier. 23 minutes désormais, un peu moins jusqu'au terme de cette séance qualificative. Riley Phillips, on le disait, en tête de la hiérarchie devant Maxime Linard. Nous avons ensuite Louis Laquiez en 3e position à 2 dixièmes. Un écart plus conséquent, 7 dixièmes, et Christophe Schinkel occupe pour l'instant le 4e rang dans la hiérarchie, avec juste derrière lui Marwan Adjoud du No Limit Racing Team devant Antoine Laquiez. Vous remarquerez qu'ils sont 2 et ils sont redoutables, nos frères Laquiez, sous les couleurs du No Limit Racing, cette livrée toute de noir vêtue comme vous pouvez le voir. Les frères Laquiez qui ont éclaboussé de leur talent la manche précédente de Lédenon et qui deviennent petit à petit de véritables favoris peut-être pour le titre en fin de saison. Mais il faudra compter avec Maxime Lénard, évidemment, pour l'instant, leader provisoire au classement, et surtout Hugo de Wilde, si on a évidemment le plaisir de retrouver le pilote belge parmi nous pour la suite de la saison, que l'on sait très très occupé, évidemment. Hugo de Wilde était en piste tout à l'heure en vue de cette épreuve. Nous verrons si on aura l'occasion de le voir en piste, peut-être avant le terme de cette séance qualificative. Et quand on sait la vitesse de pointe du jeune Hugo, eh bien, à n'en pas douter, il sera l'un des favoris de cette épreuve s'il nous rejoint. Dans la suite de la hiérarchie, Robin Donat en 6e position. Il s'agit de Robin, évidemment, que nous avions eu le plaisir d'avoir lors des épreuves précédentes, mais il est remplacé ce soir par Enzo Baracciani, son jeune compatriote français de 27 ans, pilote à 16 heures également dans le cadre de la série virtuelle WRC, donc championnat du monde des rallyes. Nous avons ensuite Eric Stenlin en 8e position, Axel Soyer 9e, Pierre-André Guillaume en 10e position et Vincent Ducluseau pour l'instant qui ferme la marche dans cette séance qualificative. Thank you, Chaz. This was a bit of an update and presentation for fellow French-speaking viewers out there following us since the start of the championship. As we're going to enter the last 20 minutes of qualifying practice here in Paul Ricard with your fellow countryman, Riley Phillips, topping the timesheet at the moment.
Yeah, he's certainly waving the flag at the moment. I tell you what, hats off to you, Guillaume, for being able to flick the switch there and go from English to French so fluently and like that. I absolutely loved that. It was brilliant to listen to. I won't lie, I didn't understand a word of it, but that was absolutely fantastic. But yes, like you say, Riley Phillips at the moment, top of the timesheets. Max Leinard, as you can see there, in second place in that very bright and colourful livery. Love it. It looks like an art car that you'd see at Le Mans, doesn't it? It's very in your face, isn't it?
Absolutely, and this particular livery has actually it's been 3 weeks into the making to have this livery finally on track. So I'm pretty sure that Maxime Lénard must be very, very proud of it.
I would be as well. To be fair, you'd just want to be sure that it doesn't actually distract the driver. It's that bright and colourful. But you can see at the moment, Riley Phillips is just slotted in behind him there. Riley's got the lights on. Whether that's a distraction technique or whether he's done it by accident, I'm not sure. But he's going to be just wondering now whether Max Leinard can pull a lap time out of his back pocket and get it done around here. Now, this section of the circuit here, which I believe would be called turns 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's like a very long chicane, isn't it, with a hairpin at the end of it? But it's Virage de l'Hôtel, and then it goes all the way around Virage du Camp, which is the very tight right-hander where the track actually opens up a bit. And then it's Virage de la Sainte-Baume, where it goes onto the straight again. And I've probably butchered the pronunciation of those, but it's a really tricky part of the track. And to be honest, if anyone goes for an overtaking maneuver there, it can set you both off kilter a little bit and really slow you down, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just mentioning the runoff areas of this particular track. You know, that's not really the sort of runoff that you see on a lot of other locations all over the world. Because the Paul Ricard, I was saying, this is a sort of visual signature for the track, isn't it? With those red and blue line outside of the track, and it's actually it looks from the outside of it when you're not used to it, it looks like okay, this is just another runoff area when you can easily leave the track and come back onto it without not much difficulty. But actually, those lines have been created to slow the cars down, and it can actually be quite treacherous for the tires and the tire wear if you happen to leave the track too often and really get yourself on those lines. But it has been created out of safety, obviously, for the drivers to be slowed down if they were to leave the track. But somehow you can actually leave the racing line. You know, if you happen to be in an incident or if you're forced off track, you can come back on it quite rapidly. But the more you do that, and the more it can actually ruin your tires. So that's like some sort of a trap that all the drivers, I'm sure, will try to avoid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see even from in the sim as well on a set of Corsa that we're on here, it's a very abrasive surface. It's not the sort of well-treated and well-looked-after surface of the actual racetrack itself. So it stops the drivers gaining an advantage by using it, basically. And while it is good that there is the safety aspect of it, you know, there's a lot of tight corners here and a lot of corners where drivers will be going into them side by side, going in for a maneuver. You're going to need the runoff around a track like this. As we look at Louis Laquies at the moment, third in the qualifying session that we have going on. It's quite close at the top, but then Schinkel downwards is actually quite a big gap, with 3 of them within 8 tenths. Sorry, 3 of them within a tenth of each other, 8 tenths downwards from Ajouge. Then it's Donat and Laquiez as well. That's Antoine Laquiez, and the number 440. He is 7th at the moment. But like I was saying though, the runoffs, they are there to sort of not penalise the driver as such, because if you run wide or make a mistake or get involved in an incident, it can't always be your fault. As Eric, that was Eric Steinlin having a right moment out of I believe that was turns 1 and 2 there. The right-hander goes over the crest of a hill. So even in these cars, I mean, they're 180 brake horsepower, Andrew was telling me. These are the Evo 3 versions of these Fun Cup cars, of course. Even with just that much power over a crest, you're a bit eager on the throttle. It's very easy to spin them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that the track now, the drivers had the time, of course, before for some practice coming to this qualifying session. But maybe the track is still a bit green, as we say. But definitely, one of those, and another around the inside of the track for Eric Stenlin. So yeah, this is one of the aspects that the drivers would be willing to keep an eye on. And another very nice looking livery for Vincent Duclouseau, driving the 424 down in 10th place at the moment for the Belgian driver. And the Paul Ricard, I don't know what you think of the track, Chaz, but this is the sort of track that goes a long time back, as it was created back in the 60s, in 1979, 69, my apologies. But that has been really, really modernized over the years, especially with those runoff areas. And there's a lot of different layouts that you can actually use in this facility. So, some drivers tend to say that because of safety, sometimes this is still a big debate. Sometimes, the safety debate, too much or not enough. But in this case, Paul Ricard is a flat track. That's pretty obvious, I guess. But with all those runoff areas, some drivers tend to say that it's become too safe. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think a circuit can be too safe. Obviously, the safety is the key aspect. I mean, that was a proper moment there by Vincent Duclouseau. As a real moment into the chicane. But just there is a perfect example. All the layouts you can have that you can see there. Some of the layouts have the straight going all the way down. There's a bit of a narrower chicane. One of the chicanes actually goes to the right before it then comes back to the left. And then obviously the one we're using this evening just goes left from the straight and then right again, as wide as it goes. But yeah, I've seen a lot of circuits over time be updated. I mean, I live quite close to Walton Park in the UK, which has always been known as a fantastic spectator circuit. And a lot of these tracks that do get known for being so close to the action or not having a massive catch fence in front of you, they're brilliant until an accident happens. And I mean, touch wood, nobody gets hurt, of course, but there's always the risk with tracks that are very open like that, with small fences, only small tire barriers. And a lot of the time when these updates come in place, yes, it increases the safety, but it can ruin the sort of the openness to the spectators as well. And obviously, out of the priorities, it has to be safety. But a track like this, I mean, I know that there's a lot of sections on this track where spectators are very far away, but there are also sections where, I mean, you can see there as Axel Sawyers comes towards us there are sections where the barriers aren't too far from the circuit as well. But I can't help but feel that while the safety is great at this track, it surely would be a bit difficult, other than being in a grandstand. It would be quite difficult to be a spectator here because a lot of it is far away because of the concrete runoffs, and there's no grass or gravel even, is there?
Mm-hmm. No, not so much. No, it has been taken off by the runoff areas.
But there's a lot of heritage behind this track. It has been around for a very long time, and it's loved by a lot of people. So personally, to drive around here, I don't enjoy driving the circuit. That's mainly because I'm absolutely rubbish at it, to be honest. No matter what sim, what car you put me in, you could put me in anything around here. I'll be absolutely terrible in it. These guys would make me look like an absolute idiot. But it's just, I think for spectating, the racing can be very good here, to be honest. I don't think it perfectly suits Formula One. In all honesty, I think some of F1 at the moment goes to too many circuits where it's a single line. We're around this section now as we go on board with Antoine Laquiez. This section is very much one line, and as I alluded to earlier, if you try and go for a move or you try and defend too much, it'll put both of you offline, it'll slow both of you down, and while it may close up the pack a little bit, I don't think it particularly promotes great racing in that section. But with Formula One cars, maybe, but obviously, as the cars get slower and the drivers get more time to think about their manoeuvres, it may produce better racing dependent on what cars go there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That's we yet to see what's going to happen on track, obviously, for the 30 minutes races to come. But I have no doubt that we once again going to have, we're going to have a blast once again covering this race as we've had since the start of the championship. Basically, it's very much down to the track as well, but for a bigger part to the drivers, and that's what I love about this championship and with those cars, the Fun Cup Evo 3 cars, is that the drivers have so much fun driving them, and you have, those cars tend to roll a lot, so you need, big arms and something else big, but I will name it in this case. But you need a lot of big arms just to be able to, keep yourself on track and be fast at the same time. And you can see, once again, like Antoine Laquies, fighting with his wheel and try to keep the fastest racing line in here, So it's easy to make a mistake or not to be consistent enough to be fast, So that's really up to your drivers to do a good job, and they do a good job since the start of the series. But they have a lot of fun doing it as well, and you can see pretty much for every race that we've had since the start, we've had countless close battle, wheel-to-wheel battle between those drivers, not only for the win, but all over the field. So that's been all the time a fantastic pleasure to follow, and with so much excitement pulled together by the drivers. So this should be no different once again tonight, and we got a couple sections on this track. Especially the first sector, but as well, I would say the very fast corner number 5 of Scenes on the other side of the track. This is a sort of corner when the drivers tend to keep it flat out as much as they want, or that could be an overtaking opportunity, I guess. There's a couple of them here on this track in the Mistral Straight, obviously, into the halfway through the Mistral Straight. It could be it, for example, or in the first chicane, corner number 2. So these are the sort of spots where you can see a lot of movements, a lot of attempts from the drivers, I'm sure. But as we said, due to the runoff areas and everything, maybe, but that's just a maybe. What I'm gonna say is that since they have more runoff areas, so there's less room for mistakes, or maybe the mistakes won't cost them as much as on other tracks. I'm thinking of, for example, Le Denon. The last time we were out for the previous round, there's not so much of runoff area in Le Denon, and there's more gravel, there's more grass on that sort of track, which is more traditional type of circuit. So once you put a wheel off the track, you can lose a lot of time, you can lose a position or two. In this case, maybe we can see more battles happening on track, since the drivers can, keep it flat out, or keep it on the limit much more due to the runoff area. So that could be an example of what we're going to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of these guys may push a bit too hard because of that as well. They may think that there's less risk, and they may think they could probably get away with it. Like you say, if they make a mistake, they might not lose as much as they would at a circuit where it goes straight from the actual track to grass and then gravel and then a barrier. At this place, there's a long, long way you have to go. I mean, you have to go off pretty well to end up hitting a barrier around here. And of course, these cars, they don't reach the fastest speeds in the world, but they still promote great racing all the same. But yeah, if you were going to hit one of the barriers here with one of these cars, you'd have to make a good effort of it, I think. We just look at Max Leinard now coming around the final corner. There's a little bit of a dip down there, similar to the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi, which I quite like, as you get the view there from the back end of the corner as it goes down the straight. Down towards turn 1. Louis Laquies has gone up to second place as well, by the way. Did that not too long ago. Only one and a bit tenths of a second off Riley Phillips at the moment. 2:31.9. You can see there Max taking plenty of curb around the right-hander. He sits third, though, with a 2:32.1. So only just 2 tenths of a second. And then it's exactly half a second back to the number, I'm just trying to figure it out. That's number 264. It's actually, we do have it as Robin Donat in the car tonight, but he has actually handed it over to Enzo Barracciani, hasn't he, this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. The French driver, 27 years of age. And, I was informed earlier by Merwan Adjoud, one of his teammates for the No Limit Racing Tonight, that he's actually busy doing some other esports competition as well, more in the WRC world. And that's the first time that we'll get to see him compete in this championship this year. So one more outsiders, I would say, that could do well into the race, the 30 minutes race that we're gonna have tonight once again. And I've been told as well, talking about drivers, that unfortunately we won't have Hugo de Wilde on track with us tonight, as Hugo apologizes, of course, for not being with us. But he was obviously busy with other commitments tonight and couldn't make it to the track. So that being said, that's another golden opportunity, shall I say, for some of the other championship contenders to maybe get themselves on top of the standings. And I'm thinking of Maxime Linard, as well as this man on board, Riley Phillips. Riley, who didn't compete back in Manicourt for the round number 3 of the championship. He was there for round number 4 in Le Denon and did pretty good for himself with 2 third position for Riley Phillips, who didn't actually get much practice coming to this round. It comes from his father, Andrew Phillips, who just told us that earlier. So we'll see what Riley is going to be able to do tonight. But we know how much of practice he likes to do coming to those races. But he's busy as well, setting up everything together to make those races happen as well. So you can't just do everything, can you? So that's going to be interesting as well, the lack of practice, what it can create. It can be a disadvantage, obviously, but it can allow you maybe to try different things than some of the other drivers, including those two, the Laquiez brothers. This is Laquiez and Robin Donat that you have on track. And Robin Donat, we're gonna have to call him differently indeed. Enzo Baracciani, my apologies. So just keep in mind that this is Robin, but not really himself behind the wheel. So we'll try to stick to that.
Yeah, we'll try and get that one right, but over the course of the evening, I think they'll probably look like they've done a driver swap or something, and we'll end up giving both names. But this is Antoine Laquiez at the moment. Just you can see the amount of oversteer these cars actually have. They, like I say, 180 brake horsepower in these Evo 3 Fun Cup cars, but they do like to chuck the rear end out if you're a bit too eager on the throttle. You can see there the race logic timer just showing him how much he is up on his delta, his fastest lap. So he must have had a pretty bad run out of the final corner last time, because he was nearly 27 thousandths faster there. You can see Louis Laquiez there in second place at the moment, just following him. Maybe just trying to give him a bit of guidance, just check his lines and say, you might be braking a bit early into this corner, or you might be running a bit too wide there, or try this line. There's a lot of different tactics you can employ in sim racing as well. I mean, in certain series that I've raced in, I'm not sure if you've seen it yourself, Guillaume, but a lot of the guys tend to go and give each other a bit of slipstream during qualifying to their teammates, just to try and give them those extra little tenths or even thousandths of a second when it comes to a lap. What have you seen of that in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been happening as well in this series, and between the Laquiez brothers, they've understood. They have the timesheet as well and the timings on the screens as well. They've understood that Riley is up front and the gaps are getting thinner and thinner. We have less than 4 minutes on the clock before the end of the qualifying practice, so it's now or never for any of the Laquiez brothers if they want to get on top of the timesheet. Right now we have Riley on provisional pole position. So as a reminder, this will be pole position for the first race coming up. And then we're going to have reverse grid for race number 2. The top 8 will be reversed. So it means that the driver in 8th position will get to start from pole position for race number 2. We're not there yet. Right now, Riley Phillips seems to have the upper hand. But we're going to see if the slipstream what the Laquiez brothers are trying to do using each other's slipstream can actually be paying off for any of them. But still a very, very close gap as we have less than 3 minutes to go. Chers amis, nous approchons tout doucement de la conclusion de cette séance qualificative et comme vous pouvez le constater sur la gauche de votre écran, Riley Phillips est bien détenteur de la pole position provisoire en 2 minutes 31 et 9 dixièmes de seconde. 1 dixième, un peu plus d'avance sur Louis Laquiez, Maxime Linard en 3e position, et vous avez donc à l'écran Antoine Laquiez et Maxime Linard précédemment sur la piste. Nous avons les frères Laquiez à votre écran, avec, comme vous pouvez le constater, ils sont en train d'essayer de grappiller les quelques dixièmes qui leur manquent pour peut-être eh bien, ravir la pole position à Riley Phillips. Voilà, nous sommes à bord de Antoine Laquez en 4e position provisoire dans la hiérarchie à 6 dixièmes pour l'instant. Et on va tâcher de suivre sa performance dans ce tour-ci, Antoine Laquez. Maxime Lénard juste devant lui pour 2 dixièmes. Robin Donat en 5e position. Puis nous avons Christophe Schinkel 6 devant Marwan Adjut en 7e position. Eric Stelling 8e. Axel Soyer 9. Puis Vincent Ducloseau et Pierre-André Guillaume qui ferment la marche en 11e position. Vous l'avez sans doute entendu il y a quelques instants. Malheureusement, nous n'aurons pas le plaisir de compter Hugo de Wilde parmi nous ce soir, puisque notre jeune pilote belge représentant en Formule Renault Eurocup, eh bien, tout simplement n'était pas disponible pour défendre sa position, défendre son leadership qu'il avait jusqu'à la manche de l'Odénon il y a 2 semaines de cela. Maxime Lénard a profité de son absence au jeune pilote belge bien pour lui ravir la première place provisoire du classement, mais gare à l'opposition française, puisque les frères Laquez, que nous avons pour l'instant à l'écran, Antoine et Louis Laquez, qui se suivent de très très près dans ces derniers instants de cette séance qualificative. Ce n'est pas du hasard, évidemment, puisque Antoine essaye de tirer son frère Louis afin de lui faire profiter d'un maximum d'aspiration dans la ligne droite du Mistral et peut-être lui faire grappiller les quelques dixièmes de seconde qui lui manquent. Pour l'instant, Louis a le bon bout en 2e position, 1 dixième de seconde seulement juste derrière Riley Phillips. Est-ce que la tactique donc déployée par les frères Laquez va pouvoir porter ses fruits et permettre à Louis de ravir la pole position à Riley d'ici moins d'une minute, 47 secondes et des poussières maintenant, nous en aurons le cœur net. On va attendre la conclusion de cette série qualificative. Nous aurons un petit break, le temps de repasser en revue la grille de départ. Et nous serons prêts, chers amis, pour la première course de ce soir. 30 minutes d'épreuve pour cette 5e manche du championnat européen de Fun Cup ici sur le port Ricard. Thank you, Chaz. Less than 30 minutes to go. And we shall see if the tactic will be paying off for Louis Laquez, maybe stealing pole position from Riley Phillips.
Yeah, it's looking like it's not quite working his way at the moment. It looks actually like Antoine's holding him up more than anything. And Antoine's trying his best, but you can see he's having some real understeer moments here and there. And I think while the slipstream may be helping a tiny bit, he sort of mid-corner he's actually holding up Louis. So they're just going around the final corner now. This is going to be their last attempt. It looks like he's actually up a bit. Oh, there's contact between the pair of them. I can't believe it. He's turned him around at the end of the session. And the race logic timer there, he was actually showing that he was almost half a second up. I can't believe it. I don't know whether he actually was or not, or whether that was showing relative to a different time or something else that he'd set. But that's unbelievable. I really hope for his sake that he wasn't up. See here, Riley Phillips hasn't had a very good exit out of the previous corner. He's almost a second down on his time. He gets a bit of a bump there. That's Max Leinard, just behind him. And like you were saying before about Max, is that he's leading the championship at the moment, and this is his golden opportunity now. With Hugo de Wilde not here, he can really open up that championship gap with some good results tonight. So I think really in his head, he needs to just stay out of some of the fights, not completely go for the win. Obviously, if it's handed to him on a plate, then take it all day. But I think if it comes to him and he thinks, oh, I'd better not get in this fight, I think I'll just take the points, then if he's second or third in the race, for example, then he may as well take that opportunity. He's bumping Riley Phillips around here. Riley's gone a bit deep, though, into the right-hander there. Poor driver. Oh, Max has just decided, no, I'm going to use the runoff. Why not?
You can see that the race has already started for the drivers, with those little bumps. That's part of the game, isn't it? That's part of the influence game that those guys are playing against each other, and they want to show the others that I'm right here, I'm right on your tail, and I'm not going to give you any easy time in this race. But as you said very very rightly, Maxime Lénard is here to collect the points, and we shall see what he's gonna be able to do. But as they're gonna complete their last qualifying lap of the session, but without further incidents, and Maxime Lénard goes on top. A pole position for Maxime Lénard. Pre-hand recovery. Great performance from Maxime, who just snapped into the lead and stole pole position from Riley for 0.3 of a second. Wow, that wasn't expected, wasn't it?
No, especially with the contact as well with Riley. I wasn't expecting him to go top like that, because you would have thought that he would have been holding him up. But what a brilliant, brilliant performance there, and a very well-deserved pole position from Max Lénard. And the guys will now be getting ready on the grid, won't they?
Yeah. So it's time for racing, and we were just talking about Maximilian maybe going soft on this race. And I'll leave it to you, Chaz, for the start of the race. Maybe 30 minutes to go, and over to you for the first few seconds as we're going to wait for all the drivers to make their way onto the track. Chers amis, nous sommes bientôt partis pour la première épreuve, la première des deux épreuves au menu de ce soir sur le circuit Paul Ricard. And we're going to have a bit of a delay, I think.
Yeah, it looks like we may have to restart the server, unfortunately. So we'll wait for that to get sorted. But yeah, really intense qualifying session at the end there for those guys. I mean, like I say, I thought Max would have actually had to hold off and sort of come back to it, but yeah, clearly not. He just had a really good run despite the contact with Riley Phillips, and well, I don't think any of us were expecting that, but I really want to know whether Antoine Lachiez was actually up on his time there by that half a second that his timer showed, but that contact was definitely not what was planned for him, was it?
No, definitely not. And we're being told that there's been a little block from the server there, so we might have to restart the proceeding for the start of this first race. Apparently, there was no waiting time, which was unusual, as we usually have a couple of minutes between the end of the qualifying practice and the start of the race. This time we didn't have time to come back to the starting grid. So apologies for that. And
we'll just be showing you some highlights at the moment on screen as well of previous rounds, but we'll get it all sorted out now for you, everybody. You know, the wonderful world of sim racing. These things happen. Technical difficulties is what we love to call it in the industry. But yes, we will have the server back up for you, ready to go in a moment. And what we'll do, Guillaume, we'll just give everyone an idea of the championship standings on the left-hand side. Then you can see, obviously, the points that people score per round. But as Andrew was explaining earlier, the longer races giving out 70 points for a win was then cut in half when the season was taken down to two 30-minute races per evening. So it gives the guys an extra chance to bag those points, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And apologies for the technical difficulties indeed. But we started this championship like a sort of endurance series with a 1 hour race every time. But we figured, why not split things in half? It would give like some more adrenaline to the drivers to go for sprint races, and that's absolutely what it did, and especially with the reverse grid system, it allows some of the drivers, not fighting at the front, to maybe have a chance at fighting for top position with the reverse grid. And so that's interesting. That just mixed things up a little bit for the past two rounds in Le Dénon and Manicourt. So once again, this will be the case as soon as we're back on. So in the background, you don't see that, of course, but in the background, Riley and Andrew Phillips are working to get the stream back on, and that's once again gives me the opportunity to thank them, both of them, for the enormous amount of work that those guys have been putting for the past few months, because most people don't that. Sorry, my apologies. Most people don't know that, but I'm sure, Chaz, that you're aware of that. But for virtual series, for creating a championship and making sure that the server and all the systems work fine all together, not just on one round, but for all the rounds throughout the championship with the right colors, the drivers, the right setup for the tracks. It requires huge amount of work, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've run a couple of leagues before on other sims. I predominantly use iRacing for championships that I run. I've done 2 or 3 in the past, but with a series like this on Assetto Corsa, I know there is a hell of a lot more work that goes into making sure that, like you say, everyone's set up in the right car, they've got the right liveries, setups, and everything are track dependent. A friend of mine recently set up a server just for us to have a bit of a muck about in. Just do a bit of just driving for the sake of driving, and just the work involved in getting that was a lot more than I expected. So to be able to set up a championship and get it all looking as good as it does here is definitely a lot of work. So very big thanks to Andrew and to Riley for getting it all sorted out. As you can see, they've had some brilliant rounds so far. But as you see, everybody, on the left-hand side of your screen, Max Lienhard leads the championship and 245 points to Ugo de Wilde's 212. And if anything, that gap is definitely going to get bigger tonight with Ugo not present. Same with Piers Stockton and Xavier Wheel as well. The two Laquiez brothers, 188 and 182 points for those guys. They've had almost identical results in the last 3 rounds as well. And, of course, bonus points to Louis Laquiez as well, which is actually only a tiny bit of the difference between the pair of them there, Guillaume.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see that in the midfield, this is very, very tight indeed. Riley Phillips has made a good comeback in the last round in London with a 2 third place, considering that he wasn't on track for the round number 3 in Manicourt. So it's been really one of the top contenders since the start of the championship. Along with Maxime Lienhard, Pierre Stockton, who has done great for himself as well. Unfortunately, cannot be with us tonight. But I got to say that the biggest surprise that we've had since the last round came from the Laquiez brothers. And for those of you who were with us when we were competing in Le Denon, Louis and Antoine really pulled a fantastic performance, and they really shared the laurels between the two of them, because they were so competitive in not only in race 1 but race 2 as well. And you could really see the level that improved from them both, because they had started back in Manicourt, if my memory is correct, that they had started into this championship for the Laquiez brothers. No, they were already in Dijon with us, but ever since they stepped into the championship, they've been straight away competitive, but they kept on improving race after race. And I've been told that it's because of the practice time, the time that they spent practicing outside of the races, just for fun as well, but to look good on track too. And it just paid off very, very much, because they won the 2 races in Le Denon, and they showed incredible pace during quali. And once again, considering that Hugo de Wilde is not with us, the Laquiez brothers have become, in just 1 round, 2 of the biggest protagonists of this race, along with Maxime Lienhard and Riley Phillips. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another 4-driver battle into the races coming up.
Yeah, definitely. They're certainly ones to keep our eyes on. I mean, they were 2nd and 4th in qualifying that we were just watching a moment ago. So with Max on pole and Riley just ahead of them, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how they get on. Of course, Riley down there 8th in the championship at the moment on 178 points. So even with a good race meeting, with some of the guys ahead not scoring points, he is going to be definitely within a shot of the championship come this round. So seeing as he's not done any practice tonight, or not got much practice anyway, he's done a really good job of putting a decent time in there. So I'm excited to see what he can pull out of the bag for this one then. But Andrew's working away at the minute. He's absolutely flat out getting the server restarted, everybody, and sorting the grid into the right order, just to make sure that everything is in tip-top condition. So thank you for your patience, everybody. We will have the 2 30-minute races for you in not very long at all. Currently looking at the highlights from previous rounds, and you can see again, actually, in the footage here on this one, Guillaume, that those 2 Laquiez cars are completely inseparable, aren't they? And it just, again, shows what we were just talking about in how well they've done, with Phillips sitting 3.4 seconds back from the pair of them. But when you're in a situation with your teammate like that at the front of the field, and I'm not talking Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, because let's face it, Bahrain 2014 was just absolutely mental. Do you attack? Do you have a go, or do you just try and sort of open the gap up a little bit as well? I'll say that, and there's footage of the 2 of them actually banging into each other here.
That's always a big question, isn't it? And I think it depends of the race, depends of the mood you are in. But we tend to think that sometimes, okay, they're gonna play it safe, they're gonna do they're gonna go with smart moves, and they're gonna keep themselves within a safe distance and try to secure the results. But we were saying that as they were battling, as you can see in the airlines, we were saying that they're not gonna do anything stupid, because they don't want to be to take each other off and give away the victory to Rally or any other drivers like Jay Shepherd or behind them. But it came close at a few moments. We just came close to to have an incident between them, because they were fighting so close to each other, banging wheels sometimes, and tried to overtake each other, back and forth. So it was really entertaining to see, but sometimes a little bit scary as well, So you really we were just thinking, oh my god, how is it gonna finish, because those two are not gonna make it to the finish line, but they did brilliantly actually, and they managed to secure 1-2 reverse, 1-2 for the first and the second race, with one victory each at the end of the day. So it was absolutely well done from the both of them, and considering that they're fast and they're able to control their race and still share the victories, that makes for a very strong package. So, and as we saw during the qualifying session, they support each other quite well as well when it comes to setting lap times, trying to make the slipstream work for the other and everything. So there's a rivalry, of course, between the two brothers, but at the same time you can see that they like to support each other, to be performant, and to fight against the others.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for the brotherly rivalry. Just about a year ago now, my brother actually started sim racing as well, and the competitiveness between the pair of us knows absolutely no bounds. And quite interestingly, he races in one of the series that I organise as well, and I broadcast and commentate on that series. So if he messes up, I get to take the mick out of him. But he soon gives it me back when we're racing together on track, because he's not too much slower than me. And when we get into a battle, he doesn't make it easy for me. It doesn't matter if I'm his brother or not. He's certainly good at defending. So yeah, the brotherly love definitely does continue into sim racing, I can tell you that. So the two Lakiez brothers there will be certainly giving each other the elbows out treatment. It's pretty funny to see sometimes, because you can sort of picture what's going on in the car, and you wish you could listen to the team radio and hear what they were saying, because if there wasn't swear words, I imagine it'd be pretty hilarious. But obviously we don't get the benefit of broadcasting that to people, because we can't trust them not to swear at each other in the heat of the moment. But I'm really looking forward to tonight, though, with these races. The qualifying was quite spaced out at Paul Ricard. It's quite a long lap here, 2.5 minutes in these cars, but even still, we saw a great last-minute effort there from Max Leonard. So once we get back into the session, he is going to assume pole position. And do you think he's going to have an easy ride and run away with it? I mean, Riley Phillips was very quick in qualifying all the way through it. He just got pipped at the end. So do you think that Max is going to have an easy race, or do you reckon that Riley is going to make it really difficult for him?
I would go for option 2. Riley is here for the win, and Maxim is there as well for the win, or at least he wants to secure the championship. That's a good question. Actually, that's worth asking him if he's available at the end of the race. At what point is he going to consider the championship more than the race results round after round? Because if you want to go all the way until the end and secure the title and make sure that you finish on top, sometimes it's better to play it safe and not fight absolute, not to give everything for the victory, but just to make sure you finish on the podium, for instance, and build on that race after race. But, that's just in theory. But each of those drivers are just fighters. They have the fighting spirit inside them. So, every time they're on track, it's, they just fight until the end for the best position they can grab on. So I would not be surprised to see. I do expect to have good battles, as we usually have. For those races, but it certainly will be the case between Max Leonard and Riley Phillips. And the Riley is fast in whatever occasions, even though he sometimes lacks a bit of practice. But it doesn't, prevent him from being fast and at least a threat to the other drivers fighting at the front. So that's going to be interesting for sure. But I'm curious to see how Max Leonard is gonna manage this particular race, because we were expecting him to fight for the front and to finish at the front in Le Dénon. It wasn't the case, so he has another opportunity to do well. And I'll give it over to you for the start of this race, the first of 30 minutes to compete here in Paul Ricard.
Thank you very much, Guillaume. And thank you, everybody, for your patience in that one there while we got all that sorted. Andrew and Riley were flat out in the background. But we are back at Circuit Paul Ricard now for the first of 2 races this evening. And, well, Max Leonard is going to be hoping for an easy ride. Like I say, we didn't think that he would have that. Guillaume and I are in agreement that Riley's not going to make it easy for him. But as you can see there, one of the drivers as well at the back of the grid, I believe that's Vincent Duclageau, has got his headlights on already. He wants to try and do his best to distract the drivers ahead of him. But we have Mr. Phillips second on the grid there. You can just see the all of the black cars that are the No Limits racing machines there with different wings. They are lining up second, fourth, fifth, and seventh on the grid at the moment. The grey, white, and black car on the right-hand side with the light blue roof is Christoph Schinkel. He's going to be eighth on the grid at the moment. But this is, well, it's my first taste of the virtual Fun Cup European Series, and I can't wait to get this underway. 30 seconds left to go. And it looks like, are we still potentially waiting for Max Leonard to take to the grid? I can't see his car at the very front. Got Riley Phillips at the front there, but yeah, Riley Phillips is on the left-hand side there. I think we're waiting for Max, are we?
Yeah, there's 10 seconds to go, and it's gonna be green light in a few just seconds in Paul Ricard. There you go.
Here we go then. The lights are on, and race one of the evening is away. And there's a bad start for one of the cars in the middle. That was Christoph Schinkel, who I mentioned before. He really didn't get away well. Looks like Riley's got the jump then. Riley managing to keep the lead from Louis Laquiez. Third place still, Max Leonard. Louis has to go defensive into turn one there. And he's gone wide, actually. He's gone really wide as Louis Laquiez. They're side by side, a little bit of contact and trying to come through there as well as Enzo Baracciani. As well, nearly a bit of contact. He's got his teammate Antoine Laquiez as well there. So getting absolutely hounded by the No Limits cars at the moment as they go second, third, and fourth. That's not the start Max Leonard wanted, because now Riley Phillips is going to try and break away here, Guillaume. That's not quite the way he had it planned.
Et voilà, chers amis, nous sommes partis feu vert pour cette première épreuve de la soirée ici sur le circuit Paul Ricard, et un départ fulgurant de la part du pole sitter, de celui qui était en pole position, Riley Phillips, jeune pilote britannique. Deuxième position, eh bien, pour les frères Laquiez ainsi que Robin Donat, Enzo Bacciarani dans son paquet ce soir. Donc nous avons vraiment les trois représentants du No Limit Racing, tout de noir vêtus. Vous ne pouvez pas les manquer en deuxième, troisième, quatrième position. Mais regardez Maxime Minard qui veut déjà tenter de remonter tant bien que mal sur Antoine Laquiez, l'un des deux frères français dans cette compétition, et Maxime Minard qui double superbement, qui prend la corde dans le ralentisseur, pourrais-je dire, de la ligne droite du Mistral. Mais Antoine Laquiez, ne l'entend pas cette oreille et contre-attaque, mais ils sont côte à côte dans la suite de la ligne droite. Ça va être très très serré entre Maxime Minard et Antoine Laquiez là-bas, la bataille pour la quatrième position, et ce qui permet à Riley Phillips de prendre la poudre d'escampette avec Louis Laquiez et Robin Donat juste derrière lui. Robin Donat, je le disais juste avant, qui est remplacé ce soir par Enzo Baracciani, son compatriote français, dans le baquet de cette No Limit Racing. Mais pour l'instant, la bataille qui nous occupe en direct sur votre écran, eh bien, c'est Maxime Minard, le leader provisoire du championnat, au volant de cette superbe 339 et cette livrée si particulière qui a demandé, eh bien, figurez-vous, 3 semaines de travail. Elle rappelle un petit peu la Flower Power numéro 50 de Hugo de Wild, qui malheureusement n'est pas des nôtres ce soir. Mais la machine du M3M de Jean-Luc Dubois, eh bien, est occupée à batailler ferme pour le top 4 et peut-être même pour la victoire, évidemment, puisque Maxime Minard aura à cœur, eh bien, de consolider sa première place provisoire dans ce qui est la 5e épreuve du championnat virtuel de Fun Cup. On boucle déjà le premier tour. Riley Phillips, 8 dixièmes d'avance sur Louis Laquiez, 3e position pour Enzo Baracciani là-bas, juste devant Maxime Minard, Vincent Ducluseau, Antoine Laquiez qui a perdu un peu de terrain en 6e position, Axel Soyer 7e dans la hiérarchie, Eric Stilling 8e devant Pierre-André Guillaume, Marwan Adjouch et Christophe Schinkel, malheureusement déjà absent dans cette hiérarchie, puisque Christophe Schinkel a dû se retirer après même la conclusion de ce premier tour. Voilà, on est parti pour un peu moins de 30 minutes désormais d'épreuve dans ce qui constitue cette double confrontation de 30 minutes ici sur le Paul Ricard, avec Riley Phillips qui mène les débats d'entrée de jeu. Riley Phillips et qui a faim de victoire, évidemment. Il est passé à côté lors de la précédente manche de l'Edenon. Ils vont bien conserver la tête des autorités jusqu'au terme de cette épreuve. Thank you, Chaz.
Well, that was a hell of a first lap there. We saw a brilliant switchback from Max Lienard, and then just trying to get in there as well was Vincent Duclageau, but he didn't quite make it in the end. And somehow Antoine Laquiez has managed to get himself back up into fourth place. He really fended them off very strongly. And now he's back there with his two teammates ahead of him, and of course Riley Phillips leading this race. In the background, we had Pierre-Andre Guillaume getting very, very close with, I believe it might have been Christoph Schinkel, or it could have been Eric Steinland. I think, actually, it looks like the gap has opened up now. I think he might have tried to make the move, and it hasn't worked out for him, I'm afraid. So he's going to have dropped back now. He's in P9. But Riley Phillips, you can see, leading the way at the moment, just under 0.7 of a second back to Louis Laquiez in the first of 3 No Limits racing cars chasing him down. Max apparently needed to reset his wheel and had no force feedback. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. And to be honest, I mean, from sim racing as well, when you've got no feel in the wheel at all, a lot of these drivers, when they come from real life into sim racing, have to adjust to the fact that they don't get the same sort of feel of the car through their backsides and all of the G-forces. They have to really rely on their sort of visual representation of whether the car is going to understeer or oversteer, and you need to feel it through the wheel. So when you've got force feedback, it feels very numb and you don't get any sensation at all, do you?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's certainly what not Maxime Lienard had expected to start this race with. But hopefully we'll be back in the lead, back in the race very soon. Down in 6th place, in 5th place, Maxime Lienard down 0.7 of a second, as you can see from the back of the start-finish straight. Vincent Duclageau on your screen in the 424 of M3M over there, 6th position. Then we have further up Louis Laquiez. Half a second between Riley Phillips and Louis Laquiez. I think that Louis is putting everything that he has now to chase Riley Phillips in the lead. Riley, who had a fantastic start and an opening lap with pretty much no worries for the British driver, but now he's going to have to count with Louis Laquiez. As you can see behind, Enzo, his new teammate in the No Limit Racing, is losing a bit of ground, down 1.9 seconds, 2 seconds now in 3rd place. Then Antoine Laquiez, who dropped down a little bit in 4th, 1.7 seconds in 4th place. But now the battle is on, Chaz, for 1st place. And we were expecting Maxime Lienard to give Riley Phillips a hard time in the opening stages of this race. It's not happening yet. Maxime is going to have to fight back quite a lot just to make the connection, or maybe just to finish on the podium, actually.
Yeah, he's going to have to really push now to try and get past these No Limits racing guys, like you say. But someone who is pushing is Louis Laquiez. He's really trying to put the pressure on. And Riley Phillips is not going to have this all his own way. One little mistake is all it's going to take. And I'm sure Louis will be happy to take the race lead here. The gap, similar to what it was before. Before it was just under 0.7 of a second last time they came around here. But now it's just under 0.6. So the difference visually looks a lot smaller, but that's only 0.1 of a second between these two cars. But I'll tell you what, Louis' eyes will be fixed on the back of the car in front, the white, blue and yellow machine of Riley Phillips, the number 994. And to be honest, these guys are starting to gap the rest of the field a little bit. The top 5 are quite spread out, and then there's a bigger gap back of 2.5 seconds to Vincent Duclageau, then 2 seconds back to Soyez, and then another 4 seconds, I apologize, back to Eric Steinland. There he is in the what I think is a very nice simple livery on that car, and I think the Beta logo on the back as well, combined with the orange wing, looks very tasty indeed. Big Volkswagen logos on the front, of course, mimicking the headlights as you often see in these Fun Cup cars. And to be honest, I think as a painter for these cars, you often see in real life and in the sim some very crazy and bright and colourful colour schemes. But it's the sort of perfect car for like a livery designer, isn't it? Because there's so much surface area for you to paint. Schinkel stopped actually on the infield there. That's right towards the end of the lap, isn't it? Actually, no, sorry. That's just on the exit of turn 1.
Et des petits soucis là-bas pour Christoph Schinkel qui, vous l'avez vu dans le point de votre image là-bas, de se ranger en bord de piste. Donc souci, semble-t-il, technique pour Christoph Schinkel qui naviguait en 11e et dernière position après ses ennuis du départ. Espérons qu'il pourra se remettre dans la ronde, Christoph Schinkel, alors que nous sommes ici à l'image. Axel Soyer en 7e position sous les couleurs du Team M3M de Jean-Luc Dubois. 10e place pour Axel Sourier, juste derrière Maxime Linard. Maxime, le leader du championnat, on le disait, qui est passé par quelques soucis techniques apparemment, puisqu'un problème au niveau de son retour de force dans son simulateur, eh bien, il lui a causé quelques petits soucis dans les premiers tours de cette épreuve. 21 minutes, un peu plus jusqu'au drapeau à damier. Et Maxime Linard, eh bien, qui va devoir cravacher sévère, si vous me permettez l'expression, pour refaire son retard. Il a Enzo et Antoine juste devant lui. Nouveau venu au sein du No Limit Racing pour cette épreuve, on le disait, Antoine Paracciani, en remplacement de Robin Donat. Et ces deux-là sont pour l'instant quasiment roue dans roue, avec une seconde 2 d'écart entre les deux. Et Maxime Linard qui a légèrement grappillé quelques dixièmes dans ce deuxième secteur, ici dans la ligne droite du Mistral, le retour juste derrière la ligne droite de départ et d'arrivée, après cette chicane, cette cassure véritablement dans la longue ligne droite. Et puis l'arrivée ici, vous le voyez dans le virage du Cygne. Très très rapide, cette courbe à droite où il faut placer la voiture de la meilleure manière possible avant d'aborder le freinage plus appuyé suivant. Nous avons Antoine Lacaise ici en 4e position, juste derrière donc son coéquipier Enzo. Les voitures du No Limit Racing, toutes de noir revêtues. 1 seconde pour l'instant entre Riley Phillips et Louis Lacaise. La bataille pour la première place fait rage toujours après 10 minutes d'épreuve. Nous sommes au tiers de la distance dans cette première de 2 épreuves au programme de ce soir. So now it's going to be interesting just to see how the race goes from this point, with a third of the distance now completed. And you can see that still a second between Riley Phillips and Louis Lacaise, as you can see the two leaders now in the lead. But to me, if Louis can actually hold this position and hold this gap as long as he can, and maybe try to put some more pressure on Riley towards the end of the race, anything's still possible for Louis.
Yeah, definitely. Like we were saying during qualifying, with the amount of runoff and lack of scenery for you to run into around here, it's easy for these guys to push it that little bit too hard, just thinking they can get away with it and maybe make a mistake and completely spin the car. I mean, we saw a couple of guys in qualifying just coming out of turns 1 and 2, just as they get over the crest, putting the power on a little bit too early, and the car will rotate. So that's all that Louis Lacaise needs to just force Riley into doing at the moment. And Riley is starting to open up that gap a little bit now. So I think that is going to be Louis' only chance, is to pray for a mistake from him. Riley's doing a good job of keeping this gap and extending it, if anything. We've got Baracciani in 3rd place. Here's Antoine Lacaise just chasing him down now. The two teammates 3rd and 4th. But it looks like Max Linard hasn't managed to make much of an inroad to them at the moment. Soyez is into 6th place ahead of Duclageau. I think Duclageau might have made a mistake somewhere, because he's actually dropped off quite a bit from those guys. So he's definitely needing to recover from that one. We've got Ajuge in 9th. Then we've got Guillaume in 10th. And, Ajuge has actually just gone past. Eric's around in the background. That's Eric Steinlin, who has spun the car. And I think he might have hit the wall on the inside. But that goes back to what I was saying before, where they can get on the throttle a bit too easily and a bit too eager. And these things are not scared of a spin, are they, Guillaume?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm just amazed every time that we are in this particular section of the track here in Ricard. This is the chicane in the middle of the Mistral straight line on the back straight of the track. You can see the different lines and the different layouts of this Paul Ricard circuit. And, I try to imagine what it would be like to be in the driver's seat, behind the wheel, when you need to focus on the straight line, on the best racing line, but you have different options pretty much at every corner, especially in this part of the track. So it must be sometimes a bit confusing. If you just lose your focus for just a split of a second, you might be going the wrong way. So that's really one of the tricks to have in mind here in Paul Ricard, that you don't get to have too much on the other track. So that's really one of the specifics of Paul Ricard. But so far, all the drivers tend to do a good job. And as you described earlier, we saw a bit of trouble for Eric Stenlin down in 9th place, who just went for a spin. We didn't get to see quite clearly what led to this mistake, if it was a mistake or an incident or a touch with another driver. But as a result, it's still down in 9th place with 1.9 second advantage on Pierre-André Guillaume down in 10. With the gaps actually building lap by lap, quite impressive gaps between the drivers, even though the battle for the lead is still on. 1.6 seconds, you can see that Riley Phillips is building a bit of a gap for the past few minutes. We're almost halfway through the distance in this first race. And still nothing is done yet, I would say, between Riley and Louis. And there's some more battles happening further back, as you can see, with in third place is not Robin Donat, but Enzo Baracciani. We'll try to keep that in mind once and for all. Antoine Lacquet just behind. So once again, that's down to what we said before, is that you don't get to see only battles happening at the forefront of the field, but as well within the midfield. And we have a 3-driver battle, and that could be, Chaz, a good opportunity for Maxime Linard if he managed to get past not one, but just the 2 drivers in front of him.
Yeah, he's going to be hoping now that Antoine Lacquiaz closes up on the back of Baracciani and starts to have a battle with him. I mean, as we were saying during the interval where they were getting the server reset, I should say, we saw that these No Limits racing cars are not scared of fighting with each other, especially Antoine Lacquiaz. We saw last time that he was having a go at Louis Lacquiaz, who of course is now trying to chase down a race leader. We're on board now with Max Leonard. And the gap is opening up and closing up. It's very much the accordion effect. As Antoine goes very deep there, misses his braking point, and there is the accordion effect, but he actually manages to get a good run coming back on because it's opened up the corner for him. Bit of oversteer there from Max Leonard. But this battle is now going to be for the final podium spot. And with half of the race ready to go now, we are still in for, well, very much a treat, I imagine. And like you said, still a lot can happen in 15 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes is an absolute age in motorsport time. So I think Max has probably just been assessing his targets at this point, just hanging back thinking there's no point in pushing too much now. He knows that the gaps ahead aren't opening up too much. It's 5 seconds back from Lacquiaz to Baracciani. But this is now looking like the start of an attack here, Guillaume. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I'll do a quick update in French, if you will.
Lights as well. He's actually really trying the distraction techniques now. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Voilà, chers amis, si vous nous rejoignez maintenant, nous sommes à mi-distance dans cette première épreuve de ce soir sur le circuit Paul Ricard, donc la 5e manche du championnat virtuel de Fun Cup Series by Riley Motorsport. Et vous voyez, nous sommes à bord de la machine, non pas de Robin Donat, mais de Enzo Baracciani en pleine bagarre là-bas avec son équipier du No Limit Racing, Antoine Lacquez, qui vient de lui ravir la deuxième position. La 3e position, toutes mes excuses, Antoine Lacquez en 3e place devant Enzo Baracciani, et qui avons-nous derrière? Eh bien, Maxime Linard au volant de cette 339 du M3M Motorsport Team, et cette livrée qui rappelle la Flower Power, cette livrée florale de bien bel effet face aux livrées toutes de noir vêtues, mais non moins élégantes, évidemment, du No Limit Racing. Donc la bagarre à 3 depuis quelques tours, et Maxime Linard qui va peut-être tenter de prendre l'avantage sur Enzo Baracciani, et c'est presque fait pour Maxime Linard qui va prendre sans doute l'avantage à la corde de la chicane de la ligne droite du Mistral, avec peut-être les 2 voitures avalées en un seul virage. Non, ce n'est pas encore le cas pour Maxime, qui a tenté de se déporter à l'intérieur et de prendre le meilleur, mais voilà, c'est chose faite. Meilleure traction en sortie de virage, et Maxime Linard qui gagne une position sur Enzo Baracciani, qui ne peut que constater les dégâts pour l'instant, même s'il se maintient dans l'ombre de son rival pour l'instant. Mais une position gagnée par Maxime Linard, et on disait Enzo Baracciani qui est encore très très menaçant là-bas. Il a gardé justement une bonne vitesse en sortie de courbe, et va peut-être pouvoir en profiter pour reprendre l'avantage sur Maxime, le leader provisoire au classement, on le disait, qui vient de gagner donc une position, 4e place désormais pour Maxime, qui n'a pas dit son dernier mot, puisque la 3e place lui tend les bras. C'est Antoine Lacquez juste devant lui, ceinturé par les pilotes du No Limit Racing pour l'instant, Maxime Linard, à la sortie du dernier virage, alors que devant, la bataille pour la première place fait toujours rage entre Riley Phillips et l'autre des frères Lacquez, Louis, en 2e position, mais comme on disait, un écart qui oscille entre la seconde 2 et la seconde 5, mais qui a tendance à être constant de tour en tour, alors qu'on approche bientôt des 10 dernières minutes de course dans cette 5e épreuve du championnat virtuel de Fun Cup Series. Mais la bataille à 3 pour l'instant retient toute notre attention, avec Maxime Linard qui vient de reperdre une position. Superbe manœuvre de la part de Enzo Baracciani, qui a repris la 4e place au détriment du leader du championnat. Décidément, ce n'est pas le déroulé de course que Maxime espérait sans doute, celui qui s'est lancé depuis la 3e position, avec des ambitions de victoire évidemment derrière la tête. Lui qui mène le championnat et qui, avec une ambition, parvenir à sécuriser un maximum son leadership, et l'un des moyens évidemment d'y arriver, c'est d'engranger un maximum de points et de terminer le plus haut possible de la hiérarchie mais les frères Laquiez et Enzo Baracciani No Limit Racing ne l'entendent pas de cette oreille. Superbe bagarre en tout cas entre ces trois-là. On va suivre évidemment ça de très très près jusqu'au terme de cette première épreuve. Et Maxime Minard qui a peut-être un coup double à jouer là-bas avec une troisième position qui lui tend les bras et la quatrième place de retour dans les mains de Maxime Minard qui fait l'intérieur à Enzo Baracciani de bien belle manière là-bas. Superbe bagarre en tout cas entre ces trois-là. Et cela fait les affaires des deux leaders qui en profitent pour creuser l'écart. 8 secondes 9 pour l'instant entre Louis et Antoine Laquiez en deuxième et troisième position. Mais il n'est plus question de victoire, je pense, pour aucun des trois pilotes à l'écran, mais bien de terminer, pourquoi pas, sur la plus petite marche du podium. On est ici à bord de Antoine Laquiez avec l'attaque de Maxime Minard qui prend l'intérieur et qui va peut-être tenter un superbe dépassement par l'extérieur au freinage de la chicane. Est-ce que ça passerait pour Maxime Minard? Car évidemment, il ne peut pas buter sur l'arrière de la machine de Limit Racing et c'est souple et ça se fait en douceur. Superbe passe d'armes et ça passe pour Maxime Minard en troisième position. Third place, Jazz for Maxime Minard. It was actually a well-managed overtake.
Yeah, he was really on it there, but I tell you what, that was some very feisty stuff from Max Leonard. But still, Lakias comes back at him now and down the inside as well. Barricciani, that's so feisty between these guys. The two No Limits cars, no matter what they try and do to team up on him, it's not working at all. And Leonard, it looks like, is holding on to this now, but you never know. It can turn around very quickly. But the first move that he made was very opportunistic. And like I said before, he was just waiting for the pair of them to start fighting. He was going to make his move. We saw a beautiful switchback from him. But then, to be fair, Lakias did the exact same back to him as well. So he got what he gave in that situation. Lakias isn't going away now. He's certainly not backing out of this. And why would he? He's putting on a great fight, and he's gone down the inside into the left-hander. Looked like a bit of contact, bit of oversteer from Max Leonard. It might have just been the tiniest taps. Car oversteers again onto the brakes to the final corner. He locks up. There's the switchback again from Lakias. Oh, actually, Barricciani's made a mistake. So I think Leonard got away with that there, to be honest with you. Otherwise, Barricciani would have been through as well. But that's opened up the gap. What a great bit of opportunistic stuff there by Lakias. But like I say, I think a tiny bit of contact may have pushed Leonard into that lock-up. But we can breathe for a second. We can calm down a bit because here's the race leader, 1.5 seconds clear of Lakias. That's Louis Lakias. And that gap has closed up a little bit more, but then 11 seconds back is this rabble. And Antoine Lakias and Max Leonard, they're going to have to wear boxing gloves for the next one if they keep this up, because this is fantastic stuff. It's like tearing strips off each other, knocking down bollards all over the curbs. It's brilliant, beautiful racing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, we expected battles all throughout the field, and this is happening once again. Louis Laquiez and Antoine Laquiez on track with Maxime Minard just in between them, down in fourth place. Antoine and Maxime battling once again very hard, and Maxime's going to try to go around the outside. He's going to do it again, once again, this time. Maybe successful, we shall see. But same strategy for Maxime, who's going to try to go around the outside in the entry of the chicane and then in the inside on the exit. So it worked. It worked out quite well the lap before. This time around, yes, he does it again, and smooth and clean for Maxime Minard. But look at the Antoine Laquiez, who actually tried to cross his line, and maybe he's going to try to align himself on the inside line in the very senior right-hander coming up now. And it's going to be once again very tight between Maxime and Antoine Laquiez. And Laquiez has the advantage now, back in third place. What a fantastic battle as we just entered the 8th last minutes of this race. And look at Maxime going around the inside once again. You know, I think they're gonna battle just side by side until the very end. I don't see any other way between those two, and a bit of a mistake over there was a bit wide from Antoine Laquiez. You know what? One driver who could actually take advantage of the situation is Enzo Baracciani, just behind, is sitting in 5th place at the moment, and is watching closely. But as you can see, he keeps himself in distance from the two, because anything will happen between Maxime and Antoine, and as well a contact. And if any of those two take each other off, that could be 2 places gained for Enzo Baracciani in 5th place.
Yeah, we saw earlier that it was Max that was in that seat, just waiting to see if anything happening from the rubbing doors down the straight now. Honestly, we need to just put them in a padded cell together and just let them have at it at this rate. They're still making contact down the straight. Antoine's just moving over a bit, saying, "Come on, you stay over that side of the track, sunshine. I am not letting you have this line." Breaks a bit later now. Max is side by side with Baracciani. They sort that out. Actually, no, they don't. Baracciani shoulder barges his way down the inside, pushes Max out wide. Antoine's going to be watching in his mirror, laughing his head off at this. Max is in fourth position now, still with his headlights ablaze. I think the contact actually upset Enzo a little bit, and it might have just lost him a bit of momentum through this very tight and twisty section then. Oh, nearly a bit of contact. Baracciani onto the back of Max Leinart. I realise that I say his name differently every time. Apologies, everyone. But to be honest, Antoine Lachiez, he wants this gap to open up, but it's just not going to, because every time Max defends successfully from Baracciani behind him, he then closes the gap back up again. And this, of course, is for the final podium spot. They're now 13.6 seconds off the back of Louis Lachiez. And those guys at the front will be very pleased to see that gap opening up. Fortunately for these boys as well, though, Soyez is 10 seconds behind them. So they're very open as Max sends it down the inside, locks up a brake, he's sideways, and that's not going to work, although there's going to be contact. Oh, and Max loses out, and to be honest, rightly so. He committed to the corner again. And after locking up and running wide, he still tried to make the apex rather than backing out of it. And to be honest there, Guy, I'm quite glad that it wasn't Lachiez that got turned around, because he would have been the innocent party there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. We feared actually for an incident like that to happen, but unfortunately for Maxime Linard, he was the victim out of the contention. But it was beautiful racing between those three. But he could have well ended up the nicest way possible with those three making it to the finish line unhurt. But in this case, Maxime Linard just went for a very ballsy move. And just around the inside of the chicane, Mr. Straight, it just didn't quite work out the way he wanted. But you had to try it, and he just went for it and lost it. But still, I think he's gonna be able to keep himself in fifth place with 4 minutes and a half to go now until the end of the race. There's not much time left for Maxime Linard to try to keep up with Antoine Lachiez and Enzo Baracciani. But it was a nice battle to see anyway, and I'm sure that regarding what happened on track, whether or not you want to call it a racing incident, I think that Maxime is gonna be even angrier for victory, hungrier for more battle coming up into the next race. So that's gonna be very interesting once again to follow. Chers amis, nous sommes entrés dans les 4 minutes maintenant avant le drapeau d'amis de cette première épreuve, et vous l'avez vu juste il y a quelques instants, Maxime Linard malheureusement a joué gros et a perdu de l'aventure dans cette très très belle bataille qui nous occupait depuis quelques tours face à Antoine Lachiez et Enzo Baracciani, les deux pilotes du No Limit Racing Team. Maxime Linard, qui comptait bien sur ces derniers instants, ces derniers tours pour refaire son retard du début de course. Il était bien parti pour peut-être monter sur la troisième marche du podium dans cette première épreuve, derrière les deux leaders que vous avez à l'écran, Riley Phillips et Louis Lachiez, séparés par à peine plus d'une seconde, donc rien n'est encore joué potentiellement dans ces 3 minutes et 30 secondes restantes de cette épreuve. Louis Lachiez doit certainement se dire que Riley est à portée de fusil et il ne lui manque que quelques tours peut-être pour faire la jonction, quelques virages pour faire la jonction. 1 seconde à peine entre les deux, un écart qui a oscillé entre 1 seconde et 1 seconde 5 durant toute l'épreuve. Mais en tout cas, la pression est certainement sur les épaules de Riley Phillips, puisqu'il voit Louis Lachiez dans ses rétroviseurs. Il va tenter de le garder derrière lui jusqu'au terme de cette épreuve. Derrière, Antoine Lachiez, 1 seconde 4 de mieux sur Enzo Baracciani. Maxime Linard a perdu évidemment en gros dans la bataille qui l'opposait aux deux pilotes français. 4 secondes 2 de retard pour l'ingénieur du team M3M Motorsport, mais qui va certainement devoir se contenter de cette 5e position, ce qui lui permet d'une certaine manière d'engranger de précieux points dans l'optique du championnat qu'il mène pour l'instant provisoirement évidemment devant notre jeune pilote belge qui malheureusement n'est pas présent avec nous ce soir, Hugo de Wilde évidemment, qui a dû se décommander pour cette épreuve ici sur le pôle Ricard. On espère évidemment le retrouver dès que l'occasion se présentera pour lui au fur et à mesure du championnat. 6e position pour Axel Soyer, Merwan Adjoud 7e, Vincent Ducluseau 8e devant Eric Steinlin, Pierre-André Guillaume 10e position et Christophe Schinkel 2 tours de retard pour lui en 11e et dernière position. Un petit rappel d'ailleurs, et c'est très sympathique de la part de Jean-Luc Dubois, le team manager de M3M, qui me rappelle effectivement que la livrée numéro 339 est un rappel de celle que portait cette machine en 2017 au 25 heures VW Fun Cup de Spa-Francorchamps. Cette machine était à l'époque pilotée par Anthony Kumpens, Bertangin et Christian Flipkens. Donc un très très beau duo pour une livrée qui a fait date à l'époque et qui est aujourd'hui reconstituée, qui a demandé pas mal de travail et certainement le résultat est bien en vaut la chandelle. Il est superbe en tout cas cette livrée du Team M3M pour Maxime Lénard en 5e position. So, Chaz, we just entered the last minute and a half in this race. Still, the battle is raging for the lead between Riley Phillips and Louis Laquiez. And in this last lap, last or penultimate lap, we shall see. But we haven't seen anything yet, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, these boys are not. They're not going to let anybody rest on their laurels at this point. They're certainly going to be going for it right until the very end. Riley Phillips has not got this in the bag because that gap has definitely come down to Louis Laquiez, and it's actually gone up to Antoine Laquiez in the background. It's 17 seconds, but we'll keep an eye on Riley then and what he can do to defend this. Louis, of course, closing. This is the battle between Mohan Ajouj and Vincent Duclageau, a bit further down the order. 40 seconds this race left to go. And this will be the final lap then. So Riley leads him out of the chicane. The gap's now down to 0.6 of a second. Looks like Riley got a good run, though. You can see it just opening up, although actually now he's in the slipstream. It's starting to close down again. So it's fluctuating this way and that way between these pair. Can't say anything bad against Louis Laquiez for the commitment into this final lap because he's pushed him all the way. And Riley Phillips has soaked up the pressure very well indeed. And that menacing black No Limits racing car behind him certainly looking feisty. A couple of corners left for Riley Phillips though. Into the left-hander, he's going to then control the car all the way down here into the final section of the circuit. Flat out, I imagine he'll be putting his foot through the firewall in this car. Into another left-hander, you can see the body roll of the car as he gets it settled. Uses all the curb on the left onto the brakes. Louis Laquiez can't do enough. And race one of the evening is going to go to Riley Phillips. Beautiful drive, well controlled from the very start. Louis Laquiez is going to take a very well-deserved second place, though. Great drive all the way to the end there, Guillaume. That was fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful drive, as you said. You know, from start to finish, there was really no position strong enough for Riley Phillips in this race, even though Louis and Antoine Laquiez going a bit wide into the last corner, but he's managing to finish in third position. Once again, beautiful results worth mentioning for the Laquiez brothers, stepping onto the podium once again as they did back in Lodenon. But Riley Phillips has been absolutely unbeatable, even though Louis tried his best at decreasing the gap and keeping the pressure on as much as he could. But it wasn't enough for Louis to get past Riley Phillips within the 30 minutes of this race. But race 2 is coming up, and there's going to be some revenge in the air from the Laquiez brothers, certainly willing to fight against Riley. And considering that we're going to have a top 8 reverse grid, we're going to have Merwan Adjoud from the No Limit Racing team starting from pole position with Vincent Duclageau alongside him. Then we're going to have Axel Souy and Maxime Lénard on the second row of the grid. And this is where things get once again interesting, Chaz, as we're going to have Maxime, who wasn't so lucky into this race with the incident into the chicane that we saw earlier. But this time around, it's going to start before Riley and the Laquiez brothers. So we're going to see a chase certainly from those 3 drivers behind against Maxime, who will have another good chance to fight for the win this time.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be an absolute belter of a race. And as we saw, it was Duclageau just beating Ajouj there over the line. And Ajouj is obviously going to inherit pole position because of that now. So those guys will be leading everyone away. Soyaz is going to be up there as well, like you say, in third position. But the important one is Mr. Lénard in fourth place on the grid. And the Laquiez brothers, I'm very excited to see how they come back through this pack. It's going to be an absolute corker because not at any point, no matter who was in front of them, whether it was their teammate, whether it was a championship rival, they did not give a damn. They just want to send it down the inside of anyone. They'll pick a fight, even if they're your teammate. He don't care. He just absolutely loves it. So it's certainly going to be one to watch. It's going to be a very, very exciting race indeed. We're just getting into the session now, everybody. You can see the highlights of the previous round on screen now. And what a race that was as well. And to be honest, with this reverse grid, I mean, we had some fantastic battles there in that one then, Guillaume. But with the reverse grid, some of these guys trying to make their way through, because let's face it, I mean, they had the pace over the likes of Ajouj, Duclageau and Soyaz. So I think we're going to see some epic comeback drives here. Especially, we need to keep an eye on Riley Phillips because he was in a lot of control of that race, but now he's got to get some overtaking in his hand, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's up to the drivers to fight once again to make their way up the order. And Riley, as you said, was much in control, or looked like he was in control very much in front of the Lakis brothers. But we take the same and in reverse. So once again, it's going to be up to the driving skills to make the difference in this race. But I can't wait to see another battle between Maxime Linard and the rest of the field. Fun fact, actually, about the livery of Maxime Linard, the 339. This very special livery that is wearing for the first time in the championship with the M3M team. Actually, Jean-Luc Dubois, I was mentioning this in French earlier, Chaz, but Jean-Luc Dubois, the team manager of the M3M team, just messaged me to have a bit of some background info about this livery. And it goes back to 2017 at the Spa-Francorchamps 25 hours of the European Very Fun Cup. And it turns out that this livery was used in this particular race by M3M with 3 special drivers. Anthony Kempens, that you might be familiar with for competing in the Belcar and as well as the NASCAR European Series. Bertland Gin and Kristen Flipkens, the Belgian tennis woman that was behind the wheel as well. It was a B class that was competing in this race in the 25 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Didn't do as high as it hoped at the time in this race, but decision was made to bring this livery back to life for this race and hopefully for the rest of the championship. And it is now created after 3 weeks of work. So yeah, that's one of those nice liveries that is that's being created once again for the virtual world after competing in real racing. So it's not the first time that we see that happening. We had, of course, Hugo de Witt competing with the Flower Power from his previous participation into the 25 hours. So once again, another beautiful livery that we're going to see once again on track for race 2 coming up.
Yeah, it's great that to see the livery brought back to life, like you say, in sim racing from the real world. Sometimes it's interesting because you get liveries that come into sim racing that people make, and then it gets put onto a real life car, and then obviously you get vice versa. You get the real cars that have been replicated in the sim, and when it's got a story behind it like that as well, that it was used for a 25-hour race at Spa-Francorchamps, which we all know and love. It's one of the greatest circuits in the world, isn't it? But to have it here in the championship as well is brilliant, and it adds a lot of colour and vibrance to the grid. And as you can see, a lot of black machinery on the grid there, ready to rumble, because these cars at the front of the pack are going to have to defend from the guys coming through. Riley Phillips, you can see on the right-hand side there, the blue and yellow rear end on that car, but do not be fooled, the front of it is white. So depending on where you're looking at it, you might think it's a different car, but he's going to line up 8th on the grid then as we reverse the top 8. 1 minute to go. The guys will sit and wait on the grid very patiently. You can see some of them have put their headlights on there, lighting up the pit wall on the right-hand side. Not quite necessary in the middle of the day, but some of them like to use that as a bit of mind games, a little bit of tactics. But the pole sitter then is Mohan Hajouj, and alongside him on the right-hand side of the grid, pink with the purple, or you could say magenta, and yellow flashes on that, is Vincent Duclageau. And 3rd on the grid in the all-blue car is Alex Sawyers. We didn't see too much of those guys, so a little bit of a battle between Hajouj and Duclageau over the line there, which determined the grid for this race. But the guys you can just hear as well in the background, or you might be able to, they're just giving it a bit of revs, getting ready to go, just trying to intimidate each other that bit. But half an hour and another race ahead of us here. And the lights are ready to come on. And these boys are very excited to get this underway then. Red lights are on, and the second race of the evening at Circuit Paul Ricard is away. And let's see who gets a good launch. Looked like a very good launch, actually, from Christoph Schinkel, who starts from the back of the grid. He got an absolute nightmare of a start last time round. He's managed to clear Eric Steinlin already. Holding on to the lead then is Hajouj, but Duclageau's trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Sawyers is defending the inside line. Nearly takes it 3 wide, but look at this. Duclageau hangs it around the outside. That's going to become the inside. Does not work, though, and cuts the nose off him. Does Hajouj. Max Lienard's dropped down in the background. I think Max Lienard might be off. He's really dropped down Schinkel's dropped a couple of places as well. So has Eric. So has Sawyers. I'm not sure whether Sawyers came back on and took some of those boys out there, but he was certainly running deep into turn one. Riley Phillips is trying to get past Barachani in the middle of that, but that is second place. Louis Laquiez now up into second position. Oh, running wide there, though. That's Barachani, and he's surely under pressure from Riley Phillips, which is what caused that. But he's going to give it him back. But quite a chaotic opening here to this second race, then, Guillaume.
Yeah, definitely, and not the start of the race that Maximilien had hoped for. Once again, some trouble for the provisional leader of the championship as the field makes his way onto the Mistral straight, the back straight onto the chicane. Nous sommes partis, chers amis, pour le départ de cette deuxième épreuve au menu ce soir avec un excellent envol de la part du poleman Merwan Adjouj, 8e de la précédente épreuve, et au gré de la grille de départ renversée, nous l'avions au départ en pole position. Vincent Duclusio qui s'est lancé en première ligne a perdu 2 positions de l'aventure dans ce qui sera le premier tour de cette épreuve de 30 minutes à nouveau, avec Louis Laquiez et Antoine Laquiez en 2e et 3e position. Grosse bagarre là-bas avec Vincent Duclusio qui tente de conserver sa 4e position mais qui va tenter de ravir la 3e place à Antoine Laquiez dans le virage de Signe. Très très rapide virage à droite, alors que vous avez Riley Phillips en pleine bagarre là-bas avec Enzo Baracciani, l'un des nouveaux venus pour cette épreuve du No Limit Racing Team. Riley Phillips, vainqueur de la première épreuve, on disait qu'il tente de se frayer un chemin dans ce peloton très très nerveux dans ses premiers instants de compétition. À l'écran, Maxime Linard au volant de la 339 engagé, on le rappelle, confirmation pour le Belgian VW Club pour l'épreuve de ce soir et qui également tente de se frayer un chemin dans le peloton. Maxime Lénard qui s'est lancé depuis la 2e ligne mais qui a perdu des plumes dans un premier tour assez chahuté. Il est 6e pour l'instant, Maxime Lénard, après une première épreuve déjà compliquée pour lui, alors qu'il tente de capitaliser sur ses précédents très bons résultats. Ces 2 4e places de Le Dénon qui lui permettent de mener pour l'instant la danse au championnat. Mais nous ne sommes que dans les premiers instants de cette deuxième épreuve avec Riley Phillips, vous le voyez, qui pour l'instant est qui est occupé pour l'instant mener la vie dure à Enzo Baracciani. Juste devant lui, c'est la bataille pour la 4e place que vous avez à l'écran dans un peloton très très serré dans ces premiers instants. Et Riley Phillips qui va tenter de prendre l'avantage au premier virage et c'est fait pour le jeune Britannique qui prend l'avantage et qui accrochage malheureusement pas entre Riley Phillips et Enzo Baracciani. Je pense qu'il est resté sur le carreau là-bas. Et non, c'est Antoine Laquiez, qui vient de perdre gros dans l'aventure après cet accrochage avec Riley Phillips. Aïe aïe aïe, on redoutait évidemment ce genre d'accrochage, on l'a vu tout à l'heure entre Maxime Lénard et des frères Laquiez là-bas lors de la première épreuve. Et c'est ici Antoine qui malheureusement en est la victime et qui va perdre gros puisqu'il rétrograde en 7e position. Maxime Lénard 5e et Riley Phillips qui se ferait un chemin jusqu'en 4e position. D'ailleurs, Enzo Baracciani toujours en 3e place. Some bit of a trouble over there for Antoine Laquiez, Chaz, I'm afraid, who just lost big into the incident, down in 7th place.
Yeah, and to be honest as well, at the end of, coming towards the end of the first lap as well, Duclos was down the inside of Antoine Laquiez. There's going to be a change for the lead here. Surely Louis Laquiez now going for the lead on his teammate Merwan Adjouj. Makes it nice and easy for him into the chicane, and Louis is going to try and run away with this lead now. But yes, big contact there between Riley Phillips, who I think we hadn't mentioned previously from Andrew Phillips. As Adjouj is now off the circuit.
Yeah.
It's away for half a second. And before you know it, he's off the circuit. There, Riley Phillips flashing the lights at him as he goes past as well. But there was Riley Phillips has jumped over, I believe. We got told by Andrew that there was some of these, what we'll call invisible walls that you can hit if you hit a curb, and it really chucked the car up in the air. It was almost dragster style. It almost did a wheelie, and then he went into the side of Antoine Laquiez. Not really much Riley Phillips could have done in that scenario. Just a bit too much curb. But Duclos was also battling with Laquiez into the chicane the lap before. And after a bit of contact there, the two of them were side by side going into the right-hander at the end of the long straight. So as they got all the way down there, it was Côte de Signé, I believe it's called. If I've butchered that, Guillaume, I'm sorry. But as they got to the end of the straight, I believe that Antoine just turned in. There's a bit of contact there between Sawyers and Duclos. He's really making a few friends this evening, putting dents in everybody's cars. But Axel Sawyers manages to spin the rears up and get it turned around. He's got Christoph Schinkel there just trying to take the place from him as well. Down the inside he goes. So Sawyers not having the most straightforward of races. I think Sawyers was actually involved in the incident at the very start as well. Nearly, I think there was a bit of contact there with Schinkel. Into the final corner they go. Schinkel down the inside. Sawyers tries to get the cut back, makes it work. But all of this time, was just losing the back end there. That was Eric Steinlen just lighting up the rears. I think he did that on the infield as well after the first section of the lap. There's a rejoin and a half for you, everybody. Peter Andre Guillaume there just behind him. Now those two are going to get in a battle into 10th and 11th place for those guys. But Riley Phillips now up to 3rd place already and chasing down Barachani.
Yeah, that's what you call a hectic start of a race, isn't it? With so many things happening in the course of just a few laps, and your battle on the circuit right now is between Riley Phillips and Enzo Barachani. And Riley Phillips, making his way up to 2nd, but not for long, as Enzo is trying to fight back against the British drivers. What a beautiful battle we get to see. 5 seconds down, Louis Laquiez, who couldn't ask for more, just to build a gap and really pull away from the rest of the field. So really the dream start of the race for Louis Laquiez, unlike his brother Antoine, who is down the order. Antoine Laquiez in 6th position. I was searching for him. But the battle on your screen now is for 2nd place. Riley Phillips now back into 2nd place into the chicane of the Mistral Straight. But Enzo Barachani is going to try to go around the outside in the corner number 6. And further down, we have the battle as well between Marouane Adjouj and Max Linard in 4th and 5th place, with 0.6 of a second between them. Riley Phillips, who can actually hold his position with Enzo back in 2nd, but Riley is going to try to go around the inside of the track once again. Yes, he does. And it forces actually Enzo to go around the outside and to go wide into the line. And Marouane and Maxime could actually take the opportunity to decrease the gap and get close once again. But once again, we have battles all throughout the fields, battle for 3rd, battle for 4th place as well. And the only one who has no worries in the world in this first part of the race is Louis Laquiez, who is pulling away 6 seconds between himself and Riley Phillips on your screen. But Riley has actually much more things to do than considering the lead, is to try to keep Enzo behind him down in 3rd place. And Maxime Linard is trying to recover as well from the ground that he lost previously into this race, down in 5th place. We're on board the still provisional leader of the standings as we speak, but after the trouble he occurred into the race 1, he still has a lot to do into the 2nd race. The first thing is try to get past Marouane Adjouj, who was a brief leader into this race after losing some ground down to 4th.
Yeah, Marouane, really hanging the back end of that car out there, and that makes life easier for Max Linard. And he is going to go through, surely, although Marouane manages to carry the speed. No, Max gets rid of the overlap and into turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. This very complicated section. He has got the job done there and into 4th place. But like you say, tough little break there with that the contact in race 1. And now, of course, Max is really going to be pushing to try and catch up with Barachani. But with the attentions of Adjouj still right behind him, it's not going to be that easy for him. So we go onto the straight again. You can just see Riley Phillips there. 2nd place, 5.6 seconds off the back of Louis Laquiez. But we'll see how quickly he closes up over the course of the next lap or so. You can see Adjouj just poking his nose out there, just trying to have a look at Max Linard. And he goes down the inside. No, he doesn't. He backs out of it. But he's putting the pressure on. Max goes a little bit deep into the chicane. Maybe Adjouj can get a good exit. Doesn't look like he's managed to pull that off very well there. He was trying it, though. He was certainly giving it a go. And that's the thing, in the sort of early stages of this race, I mean, we're barely 10 minutes in now, 1/3 of the way through the race. You just have to give it everything because while the field is a little bit closer than it will be at the end, you don't want guys to run away from you, do you?
No, absolutely not. And we still have a long way to go, definitely 20 minutes and a few seconds more. There's still plenty of time for Maxime Linard to try to make up for the ground he lost in the early stages of this race. But he's being chased at the moment by Marouane Adjouj, who's not doing a bad job at all in the upper part of the field. But it's down to Maxime to try to make the connection with the leaders, considering that it has maybe more to lose than the others regarding the championship. But certainly not the races that he expected to go this way. But we're going to see what Maxime is going to be able to do with Enzo up in 3rd, and not too much of a gap between those two. as they make their way across the start finish line. Moins de 20 minutes désormais, chers amis, avant le drapeau à la de cette deuxième épreuve dominée pour l'instant par Louis Laquiez, le jeune pilote français du No Limit Racing Team. 5 secondes 5, vous le voyez sur votre écran d'avance sur Riley Phillips, le pilote britannique. Vainqueur de la première épreuve et pour l'instant qui est occupé à cravacher pour tenter de réduire l'écart. Alors qu'on avait dans le fond de votre écran une petite erreur, je pense, pour les pilotes là-bas au fond de la ligne droite de départ et d'arrivée. Je pense qu'il s'agissait de Christophe Schinkel qui est allé un peu large là-bas, qui a perdu une position au détriment de Eric Stenlin en 9e place. Avec Stelling, voilà, 10e position, nous l'avons à l'écran pour l'instant, pourchassé par Pierre-André Guillaume, et là-bas dans le fond de votre écran, c'est pour l'instant la bagarre entre Eric Stelling et Christophe Schinkel, là-bas en 9e et 10e position. Très belle bataille là-bas en queue de peloton. Petite hésitation de la part de Christophe Schinkel là-bas en sortie de virage, mais il a bien rattrapé la dérobade de sa machine. Alors qu'en tête, 5 secondes désormais d'écart entre Louis Laquiez et Riley Phillips, 2e position. Vous avez à votre écran Romain Donat et Maxime Linard là-bas. C'est une bagarre à 3 pilotes qui se profilent à l'horizon pour l'instant. J'ai encore dit Robin Donat, il s'agit de Enzo Baracciani, évidemment, au volant de la voiture précédemment occupée par Robin Donat lors des précédentes épreuves ici. Le nom reste le même, le pilote des hallucinateurs est tout simplement différent pour cette manche ici au Paul Ricard. Mais comme vous le voyez, Maxime Linard est occupé à refaire son retard. 7 dixièmes d'écart pour l'instant et un peu moins désormais entre Enzo Baracciani et Maxime Linard. 3e et 4e pour l'instant. Il y a gros à jouer pour Maxime Linard puisqu'il mène toujours la danse au niveau du championnat. Et après avoir perdu quelques plumes lors de la première épreuve, eh bien, il pensait peut-être avoir l'occasion de se battre plus tôt, en tout cas, avec les leaders de cette épreuve, sachant qu'il s'est lancé depuis la 2e ligne de la grille de départ, mais quelques ennuis lors des premiers tours, eh bien, le contraignent pour l'instant à devoir cravacher pour refaire son retard. Et la première étape, eh bien, c'est dépasser Enzo Baracciani pour la 3e place et peut-être ensuite faire la chasse à Riley Phillips avec la bagarre de la première épreuve, eh bien, qui va se dessiner petit à petit. Riley Phillips, pour l'instant, dans un no man's land, en quelque sorte, qui est occupé là-bas, consolider sa 2e place, tenter de refaire son retard sur Louis Laquiez en tête. Ça va être très intéressant de voir un petit peu en combien de temps, combien de tours Riley Phillips va pouvoir peut-être faire la connexion avec Louis Laquiez en première position, 4 secondes 5 avec 1 seconde de gagné sur le tour précédent pour Riley Phillips en 2e position. Et vous voyez ici Maxime Linard qui se bat avec son volant et avec sa machine 339 aux couleurs du Belgian VW Club et qui va sans doute tenter et peut-être réussir à prendre l'avantage sur Enzo Baracciani en 3e position. Voilà, c'est les apports de Maxime Linard pour l'instant qui va tenter de prendre l'aspiration dans la ligne droite de départ et d'arriver au freinage du premier virage à gauche là-bas. On va tenter de prendre l'extérieur et peut-être de déprendre son adversaire. Ça passe peut-être effectivement pour Maxime Linard et contact malheureusement pour Maxime Linard qui passe à 2 doigts de la sortie de piste et parvient d'extrême justesse à rattraper la dérobade de ses machines. Où c'était très chaud là-bas entre Maxime Linard et Enzo Baracciani. Et regardez qui en conflit derrière, et bien c'est Marwan Atude qui n'en demandait pas tant pour reprendre l'avantage sur Maxime Linard. Maxime qui perd à nouveau gros là-bas dans une tentative tout à fait logique au premier virage. Il a tenté le tout pour le tout là-bas dans ce qui était une des zones de déplacement les plus propices de ce circuit de Paul Ricard. Il y a à nouveau une petite mésentente là-bas, un contact. Et Maxime Linard qui a perdu du terrain et s'est fait rejoindre par Marwan Atude. Et dans le même temps, eh bien, Enzo Baracciani a creusé l'écart de nouveau sur sa 3e place, mais peut-être plus pour très longtemps, parce que Maxime Linard a conservé quand même un rythme assez soutenu et ça va lui permettre de reprendre l'avantage sur Marwan à l'approche de la chicane. So there was a bit of a moment over there for Maxime Linard. Chaz was going back into contention against Marwan Atude, making his way into the chicane back in 4th place, but he just came close to lose it all over again in this very little incident.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, to be honest. I wasn't expecting the contact to chuck the car out that much, but as you say, he really lost out there and he had to then go up against Jesus. But he's back in contention now, so he's doing absolutely fine. But he needs to just shake Jesus again because he's not able to get rid of him at this point. And then, of course, he needs to try and close up again to Baracciani so he can have another go. But it's easier said than done. We're just about to hit half race distance here at Paul Ricard. And the gap between Laquiez at the front and Phillips has come down by about a second since we last checked. So he's not making massive inroads at the minute, is Riley Phillips, but he's still doing enough to chip away at the lead of Louis Laquiez to the point where Louis will notice. He'll see the times coming up, and he'll just think, okay, maybe we need to step this up a bit. But to be honest with you, I think he'll be flat out as it is, because when you're in the lead of the race, you don't want anything to compromise you. They do very similar lap times, actually. 4 thousandths of a second difference last time round. Riley Phillips did a 2:31.839, and it was an 8:43 an 8:49 and 8:53 for Lakiez. So only 4 thousandths of a second difference over a lap. I'd say that's pretty close, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And you can see the level of the drivers is pretty close all throughout the laps, looking at the gaps decreasing and sometimes being consistent between the drivers. You can see once again Maximilian on your screen in a battle between the No Limit Racing drivers. Enzo Baracciani in third, Marwan Ejud down in fifth. But it seems to me that once again Maximilian has found himself stuck into a position he didn't expect coming into these races. And we expected as well, just to be honest, to see him battling at the front against the Lakiez brothers and Riley Phillips. But that's part of the racing, isn't it? And you can never be too sure about what the order in the upper part of the field will be like.
Oh, sorry, mate. I think we had a bit of a moment there for Duclageau. He just lost a hell of a lot of time. I think he had a bit of a spin as he was going through the slow right-hander. He just got on the throttle a bit too early, and we've seen a lot of that tonight. Sawyer's not able to make a place up on him, though. But, yeah, Duclageau definitely dropping down now from Antoine Lakiez. There's 18 seconds between them. Looking again at the gap between the two guys at the front, though, Riley Phillips has taken another 1/10 of a second out of Louis Lakiez. But unless there's a big mistake there from Louis, I don't think he's going to get it done. What do you reckon?
No, I don't think either because Louis has been doing a great job so far on this track in terms of pace, and really is fast as well. But he just gained a second or so over the past few laps. But the gap so far seems to remain consistent over the past 2 laps, between 4.4, 4.6 now between them two. Louis your leader on board with a big view on his rear end plate. Beautiful scenery over there. Thanks, Andrew Phillips doing a great job at choosing the angles, choosing the cameras. Now we are on board the young Frenchman of the No Limit Racing team. No Limit Racing team as, for those of you following us, the reigning champion of the French Fun Cup in 2019. So very nice for them to be part of this championship for the past 3 races now. As maybe they thought that the M3M racing team of Jean-Luc Dubois was being a bit too dominant in this competition, along with Hugo de Wilde representing the Belgian Very Club. Belgian Very Club now being represented tonight by, of course, Maxime Linard and this beautiful livery. But that's great of them to be part of this event and to put some salt into the competition and to spice things up as they've been doing for the past 2 events, especially with the Lakiez brothers. Putting on a good show. But at the moment, Maxime Linard is still stuck between Enzo Baracciani and Marwan Ejud down in 5th place. So it seems to me that he hasn't been able to really find the gap and pulling away from his opponent. So it's really a great job put together by Enzo Baracciani on this one, because he's the new kid on the block, shall we say, when it comes to the championship. This is the first time that we get to see him driving one of those Evo 3. And Maxime Linard is the current leader. I think he might want to go for a move over there. Yeah, I think he's got the pace. And just maybe before the braking into the chicane, he's going around the insides. Yeah, close. But I think he's going to have the upper hand indeed into the chicane on the Mistral Straight. And Maxime Linard making his way up to 4th, and not quite yet. As a beautiful fight put together by Enzo Baracciani, but I think in this case Maxime Linard has the upper hand, and he's got the speed on the exit. And will it be good enough? We're not sure yet.
That was really nicely held around the outside there by Enzo Baracciani, but still Max Linard just took it back to him on the exit, although Enzo sent it back up the inside then at the end of the straight as well. So gutsy stuff from both of these guys, not letting anything slip. But Enzo just carries so much pace around there. He really kept it planted. Max is a little bit out of shape into the next right-hander, and just behind him as well as Hughes is going to try and take advantage as well. He goes a bit deep into the next right-hander there, a bit sideways on the exit as well. But all of these No Limits racing cars are starting to close back up as Max Linard sends it down the inside then on Baracciani. Oh, a little bit of a hip and shoulder. Baracciani runs wide. Max has just got rid of the overlap, but now they're all swarming behind him. He's thinking, oh, just leave me alone. All I want is a podium. Just let me race, boys. Then all these, obviously, they're all French drivers, and Max Leonard as well is just trying to hold on. And these lot are thinking, you're here to ruin our French countryside. We're going to absolutely have you. But look at it now. All three of them right behind. A light up in the rear tyres there from Ajouge. Car sideways. But once again, we're going to see this here on this rookie. But these No Limits Racing boys, they don't care if they're teammates. They're going to fight amongst themselves now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all what we can expect for the less than 10 minutes now, 9 minutes remaining until the checkered flag. And, it's up to see what they're going to do, working together to try to get past. And a bit of a moment over there, I think. Yes, for Marouane Adjouge, who just lost control of his car for just a split of a second, I think. He just lost a position over there. No, still behind in 5th place, but it was very close. Antoine Lacaisse down in 6th. But a bit of a moment over there. 4/10 of a second between Marouane Adjouge and Antoine Lacaisse down in 5th and 6th place. Down in 7th is Vincent de Cluzo, but further back, the battle is on, and this is a battle for 3rd place, as Maxime Linard was able to pull a bit of a gap, 1 second between himself in 3rd and the trio of drivers from No Limit Racing. 8 minutes et des poussières restantes maintenant avant le drapeau damier dans cette deuxième épreuve du Paul Ricard, chers amis. Et la bataille fait rage, vous le voyez là-bas, nous sommes à bord d'un des 3 pilotes du No Limit Racing avec Marouane Adjouge qui va tenter de ravir peut-être la 5e place à Antoine Lacaisse en prenant l'intérieur de la chicane du Mistral. Ça ne se passe pas encore pour l'instant puisque Antoine Lacaisse fait un excellent travail à fermer la porte juste devant Marouane là-bas en 6e position. Ça permet à Enzo Baracciani de légèrement se défaire de la pression de ses équipiers. En 4e position là-bas, Enzo à la poursuite de Maxime Linard en 3e position. En tête pour l'instant, à un peu moins de 8 minutes du terme de cette épreuve, toujours le même, Louis Lacaisse, le 4e larron du No Limit Racing. Alors que vous avez à l'écran la superbe bagarre également. Là, ça se passe évidemment en queue de peloton entre Eric Stellin en 9e position au volant de cette Evo 3 toute de blanche vêtue et Christophe Schinkel en 10e position. Mais en tête, Riley Phillips a ramené l'écart à 3 secondes 8 pour l'instant, 3 secondes 9 presque. C'est pour l'instant l'écart le plus faible que l'on a enregistré entre Louis Lacaisse et Riley Phillips depuis l'entame de cette deuxième épreuve. Mais malgré tout, on sent que Riley, le jeune pilote donc britannique, vainqueur de la première épreuve, eh bien, on sent que Riley n'y arrive pas, tout simplement. Il n'arrive pas, malgré les temps autour qu'il nous sort depuis tout à l'heure, il n'arrive pas à combler l'écart qui le sépare de Louis Lacaisse, qui fait un excellent travail en tête de cette épreuve, qui ne se laisse pas distraire, qui continue d'être régulier. Et à moins de 7 minutes du drapeau damier, eh bien, ça semble, je pense que les carottes sont cuites pour de bon pour Riley Phillips, à moins d'une erreur de la part de Louis Lacaisse. On voit mal ce qui pourrait l'empêcher d'aller chercher un nouveau succès après celui obtenu à Le Dénon dans l'une des 2 courses qui s'étaient tenues là-bas sur le circuit français. Riley Phillips en 2e position, et attention à la bagarre qui fait rage là-bas entre Antoine Lacaisse et Marouane Adjouge, avec Lacaisse qui se maintient en 5e place, Marouane est juste dans sa roue, car évidemment à ne pas se neutraliser complètement là-bas les équipiers du No Limit Racing, puisque dans le même temps, eh bien, ils permettent à Enzo Baracciani en 4e position, de faire la chasse à Maxime Linard, mais en faisant la chasse, eh bien, il creuse l'écart petit à petit. Enzo Baracciani sur ses 2 équipiers, tout comme Maxime Linard, eh bien, qui est occupé à, pour l'instant, rallier l'arrivée en 3e position. Eh bien, il tenait évidemment Maxime Linard après 600 minutes de début de meeting en première manche, lui qui avait manqué le podium à 2 reprises à Le Dénon en terminant en 4e position. Il détient cette fois-ci son podium, Maxime Linard, lui qui mène le championnat et qui aura à cœur évidemment de consolider son avance sur Hugo de Will. Hugo de Will qui devrait logiquement évidemment perdre sa 2e position. On fera le point sur le classement lors de la prochaine épreuve une fois que tout sera officialisé. De retour à bord, Marouane Adjouge qui va peut-être tenter de faire l'intérieur à Antoine Lacaisse au freinage de la chicane. Non, puisque Antoine retarde son freinage juste à l'entrée du virage et sur le point d'ailleurs de perdre la trajectoire, mais il n'en est rien. Il se maintient en 5e position, alors que nous entrons progressivement dans les 5 dernières minutes de cette épreuve. Et la bataille fait toujours rage là-bas entre les 4 voitures que vous avez à l'écran dans l'ordre. Maxime Linard au volant de la numéro 339, juste devant Enzo Baracciani, Antoine Lacaisse et Marouane Adjouge en 5e position. Thank you, Chaz.
Yeah, that was a real good scrap developing there between those boys, but unfortunately, it sort of managed to put itself to sleep a little bit there with Ajouge just lighting up the rears a bit too much. This is the gap back at the front then. So this is Lacaisse with Phillips just 3.6 seconds behind now. So again, in the sort of 8 minutes that we've not really watched these pair, the gap has only come down by another second. So Louis just needs to continue doing what he's doing at the moment. And I think that he's going to have an easy ride to the end. And interestingly enough, as we go on to the rear wing camera there, looking back, it was quite entertaining looking back from the Max Leonard car at the 3 No Limits Racing boys all chasing him down the back straight. It looked like he was being chased by the Mafia or something. As Baracciani comes into the pits there, but yeah, I go back to my point. It looked like the Mafia had bought a load of Volkswagen Beetles and decided to chase him down because it was just loads of black cars chasing him down the straights in all different angles and speeds. It just looked absolutely fantastic. But a quick stop there from Enzo Baracciani. Not sure whether that might have been a stop and go or something. Maybe you can inform me on what that might have been there, mate, because I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, that's surprising indeed from Robin Marajoni. We didn't expect that at all to happen, and that's a shame because he just lost a lot of time, obviously, down in 6th space though, in front of Vincent Ducluseau for 7 seconds. But he was fighting for a potential top 5.
Sorry, mate. I think Andrew's just saying track cuts. He reckons he might have been taking too many limits with the track limits there, so he might have got a drive-through. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's something indeed that we forgot to mention or to remind you, even though you might be familiar with the rule if you've been following us since the start of the championship. But up to 10 cuts, that's a drive-through penalty. So there you go. There is the reason for Enzo Baraccioni to go back and go back in and out of the pit lane as fast as he did. 10. This is a drive-through. Up to 10 track cuts, and that's part of the rules, of course, that you have to respect if you want to compete and be efficient in this championship. You're not allowed to cut the tracks more than 10 times, otherwise you get a penalty and a potential top 5 results lost for Enzo Baracciani, down in 6.
Yep, it's starting to spread out a little bit between those guys now, although I say that actually, Ajouz is on the back of Laquiez again, but this is Louis Laquiez at the front of the pack doing a fine job. 3.6 seconds still the gap to Riley Phillips in second place. There will be one more lap to go. As you can see, everybody, 2 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. This is the battle between two teammates once again. Red versus blue, Laquiez versus Ajouz, and it's not going to go away. Team orders are not a thing with these guys. I think that's what we can definitely determine from this one. And the 440 machine chased by 408. And Ajouz, you can see taking different lines there, and he's actually putting his teammate under pressure here. And I suppose they know that they're probably not going to catch Max Leonard without a mistake, so they think, why not? We may as well battle amongst ourselves, have a bit of fun out there. It is called the Fun Cup at the end of the day. But with less than 2 minutes now to go. Oh, and there you go then. So Ajouz has, clearly cut the circuit one too many times, and he's managed to go into the pits as well now. So these no limits racings, drivers are finding out that there certainly are limits, and they're track limits.
Yeah, actually, the bit of a background story behind the No Limit Racing name is from the creator of the team, who decided, there's no limit to what we can do, just push it all the way for victory. And it seems like there was, as you said, no limits for them. But when you go beyond the limits, at least more than 10 times. There you go, a drive-through penalty. Unfortunately, it means 2 potentially good results for Merwan as well as for Enzo. Lost in the process, but that's part of racing, and especially as goes back. Sorry, to what we discussed coming to this race, Chaz, with the track limits and the runoff areas on this particular track, making it so maybe easier, or temptation to go beyond the limits is maybe bigger on this track, considering that you don't lose as much time as on the other circuits with the runoff areas. So here are some of the drivers of the No Limit Racing team that just fell into the trap of going too many times over the curbs. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly easy to overstep the mark a little bit, to be honest. And I think that some of these drivers are now, unfortunately, managing to overstep, said Mark. Let's have a look then, as the timer has ticked down all the way. So this is Antoine Laquiez in 4th position. But this is your race leader, Louis Laquiez, And it looks like here, Guillaume, I'll hand it over to you, mate. He's going to get this done with just a couple more corners to go, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Chaz. Et voilà, chers amis, nous arrivons au terme déjà de cette double épreuve du Paul Ricard, la 5e manche du championnat européen virtuel de la Fun Cup, du Virtual Fun Cup European Series. Et ce sera la victoire, le drapeau damier pour Louis Laquiez. Le chrono s'est arrêté, comme vous le voyez. Conclusion de cette deuxième épreuve et une resplendissante victoire pour Louis Laquiez. Magnifique résultat. Je pense en tout cas que la course est conclue. Oui, en effet, il vient de lever le pied. Superbe victoire pour Louis Laquiez qui s'impose à nouveau comme au circuit du Ledénon il y a 2 semaines de cela. Victoire devant Riley Phillips, le pilote britannique du Viking Team. 2e place pour Riley après sa victoire en course 1. 3e place pour Maxime Linard qui sauve le podium après ces quelques petits ennuis lors de la première et également lors de cette deuxième épreuve. Quelques petits contacts, ça fait partie de la course évidemment. Mais Maxime qui parvient tout de même à sécuriser un excellent résultat au final et engranger pas mal de points dans l'optique du championnat. C'est important, on ne cessera jamais de le dire. Avec Antoine Laquiez, le deuxième des frères Laquiez du No Limit Racing Team qui boucle cette deuxième épreuve en 4e position. 5e place pour Enzo Baccianari, le jeune pilote français qui est donc remplacé au pied levé Romy Donat sous les couleurs du No Limit Racing. Baracciani, j'y arriverai, 5e place en tout cas pour lui, devant Vincent Ducluseau, Axel Soyer 7e, Eric Stenling 8e position devant Pierre-André Guillaume, Christophe Schinkel et malheureusement Marwan Adjoud du No Limit Racing Team qui n'aura pas vu la conclusion de cette deuxième épreuve après sa pénalité sur drive-through penalty pour avoir franchi à de trop nombreuses reprises les limites de la piste. Ça fait partie de la course évidemment. Désolé pour Marwan qui n'aura donc pas vu le terme de cette deuxième épreuve ici sur le Paul Ricard, remporté de main de maître par Louis Laquiez. Thank you, Chaz. I think we're going to try to have a bit of a chat with some of the drivers in the Discord room that we have at disposal here. But we're being told that we're going to have to wrap things up quite quicker than usual, unfortunately. But let's try to have a few words maybe from the drivers that did the show out there. And I think we're gonna head over to the Team N3M Discord chat to have maybe a few words from the driver in third place, Maxime Linard, if he's available, and why not from the drivers up there, Louis Laquiez or Antoine Laquiez from the team No Limit Racing. But it was a pleasure once again to be at your side for the round 5 of the Virtual European Series of Fun Cup. It was a pleasure, Chaz, Ricard, to have you as well. I hope you had as much pleasure as I did covering this race.
Yeah, it was a good set of races there. Plenty of action going on. And it just, again, once proves that something I always say about sim racing and any form of motorsport is that you don't need a 60-car grid to have a lot of fun. You can just get even just 5 cars out on a track, and as long as the guys are enjoying themselves and having a good battle, then you're going to get a good race. And I think we had a prime example of that tonight with the 11 and 12 cars that we had. And like I say, the reverse grid as well really spiced things up for that second one. Some of the drivers trying to come through, a bit of chaos at the start, but it was really, really good fun to watch. And I'm sure that everyone will be very happy with that one. So what we could do, I mean, we like you say, we'll pop down and have a quick chat with them guys and see what they say. So
yeah. We can go to talk to Louis Laquiez, actually, who is available in the No Limit Discord chat. Let's try to see if he's available, and maybe I can run a few questions in both French and English to see if Louis is available. The winner of round 2 here in Paul Ricard.
Voir où les résultats des courses, des 2 courses là de ce soir?
Sur le site, mais il faut le temps qu'ils mettent à jour.
Ah ok, d'accord, ouais.
Il y a
sur Stracker machin là.
Ah peut-être, ouais. Mais tu vas la
Sur quoi tu dis?
Dessus.
Sur quoi tu dis?
C'est une adresse un peu spéciale.
Stracker.
Où est-ce que je peux la trouver?
Je vais essayer de la retrouver.
Ah ok, ouais.
Hello there, gents. Hello, you are live on the stream, boys. We're just going to try and drag Louis in, but Guillaume's gone down to the No Limit chat to go and have a quick word with him.
republicofsimracer.com.
Attends.
On est sur le live.
Attends, je vois dedans. Ouais, c'est ça.
Yeah, sorry, Chaz. Louis is not there, I think.
C'est dedans.
No, he's.
Ouais, elles sont dedans.
Everyone should be here, I think.
Maybe it's better to move the interview on another channel, I think.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Oh, yeah, okay, right now.
Donc, tu as pu noter l'adresse?
We can hear everything, I think.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we
move
should be
to-
good on this channel. Guillaume, can you hear everybody?
Yes, I can hear everybody. Yes, all right. Here we go. Yeah, I was talking to Louis Laquies just before. Louis, if you can still hear us.
Yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, so once again, fantastic results. Beautiful race put together. Was it from your side as easy as it looked from the outside, or
Coco,
pressure
be
from
quiet.
behind?
Come here. What?
Actually, it was so hard trying to keep Andrew so far behind. I mean, he was so fast. It was unreal. Like on the first race, as soon as I figured out you could cut the first corner with the yellow bollard, I nearly caught him, but he was so fast. It was really difficult having him behind me all race.
You're
doing
not
the
muted.
second one. It was really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, pretty much a brilliant race from you. For Antoine, things didn't go maybe as smooth as planned. And I don't know if Antoine is with us or if you can talk for him.
I can. He's right next to me.
All right, yeah, fantastic.
Ils veulent te parler.
Yeah, and once again, last time we talked to the Laquies brothers. We were so impressed by your English accent, but it has to do with some English roots from Wales, I think, if I'm recalling correctly, that you guys are partially from Wales, and that's the reason of the so good English accent. But if Antoine is with us, and we can maybe have a. Yeah. Good evening, Antoine. We can maybe have a good word about from you, and just talk us through your race, how it went from your perspective.
So it went really well for the first race. So I had a lack of rhythm because of the lack of training, really, because I only first laps were at the start of the quali, so that wasn't really fun for me. So learning the track and using all the tips that Louis and the guys had for me. So for the first race, we had an awesome fight with Max. Really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, had a little issue, I think, in the straight with Max. I think Max bumped me and he span. So, but the second race, I really lacked rhythm. So I didn't really enjoy the second one because I couldn't battling with Enzo and Jeremy. So Enzo and Jeremy that are driving for Merwan and Robin because they can't be here today. But all in all, the first race was really good. Second race, I'm a bit frustrated of the lack of rhythm, really.
Yeah, I guess that sort of thing happens sometimes, but still, you guys put up on a good show, and it seems to me that unfortunately we didn't have Hugo de Wilde with us tonight as for the last round, but it seems to me that the championship is going to be between you guys and Maxime Lina, certainly battling for the lead. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Hugo would have been a great fight for Louis and Riley tonight, because I think Riley and Louis were on a different level tonight, and there were absolutely stellar performance from both of them. And I think you could tell because of I think 15-second lead. Well, even though we were battling behind, it's just there's no excuse. They were really fast. We were a bit out of pace, and with Max, it was really a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the whole championship, because we are indeed, I think, going to battle between us three or us four with Riley if he continues those good performances and continues racing with us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Absolutely, and if Riley wants to add something after great performance as well in the race one. And hopefully we can count on Riley as well to mix things up for the rest of the championship as well.
Yeah, no, race one, I was definitely being pressured from behind. I was kept on my toes, for sure. So, yeah, race two was unfortunate. A couple of collisions during the early laps, and then I couldn't quite catch them towards the end. But yeah, it was a good race. Definitely enjoyed it.
All right, great. And maybe we can have some more words from Maxime Linard if he wants to join in the conversation, either in French or in English. Bonsoir Maxime, comment allez-vous?
Bonsoir, ça va, Guillaume, ça va et toi?
Très très bien, merci de nous rejoindre. Je ne sais pas si vous voulez nous ajouter votre commentaire dans la langue de votre choix, un peu revenir sur votre performance de ce week-end, et de ce soir plutôt, devrais-je dire. On vous attendait peut-être devant, et puis quelques petits soucis en première et en deuxième course, quelques petites touchettes qui vous ont coûté du temps. Sinon, vous aviez le rythme sans doute pour jouer vos avant-postes.
Bon, je pense que jouer les avant-postes, Louis et Riley étaient quand même clairement un niveau au-dessus. Après, pour la course 1, comme disait Antoine, on a eu une superbe battle avec lui et du coup, je ne sais plus qui remplaçait Robin. Enfin, Enzo. Voilà, on a une superbe battle là qui s'est un peu mal fini vu qu'en fait je bloque tout simplement les freins sur la chicane de la ligne droite de retour et ça finit mal. sorry, c'est moi qui bloque complètement les freins. Mais sinon jusque-là c'était une super battle, super clean, donc c'était super chouette. Et puis sinon à part ça c'était une superbe première course. Et puis course 2, là c'est dans le premier tour où c'était un petit peu carnage à la première chicane.
Oui, tout à fait.
Et je me fais embarquer par, je pense c'est Axel qui est un peu en vrac et du coup j'essaye de passer à gauche et il part à gauche, enfin en étant tête à queue, il part sur la gauche et du coup il m'emmène avec lui. Et puis après c'était un petit peu essayer de rattraper le temps perdu et encore une fois une jolie bagarre avec les no limites.
Tout à fait. Et peut-être une dernière petite question avant qu'on se quitte. À ce stade du championnat, on fera évidemment les comptes au terme pour savoir si vous êtes toujours en tête, mais je crois qu'a priori, vous devrez pouvoir vous maintenir devant. Est-ce qu'on pense plus optique classement ou alors chaque course est à prendre l'une après l'autre et on se fait plaisir Est-ce que ça vous trotte dans la tête un petit peu ou alors c'est...
Oh, ça trotte très légèrement, mais l'optique principale, c'est quand même, pour moi, c'est une première expérience comme ça dans un championnat en sim racing. Donc, le but premier, c'est surtout d'avoir du fun, et c'était l'optique quand j'ai rejoint ce championnat. Après, bon, c'est clair que si je peux me maintenir en première place au championnat, je ne dirais pas non.
Tout à fait. Et d'ailleurs, vous avez eu les honneurs récemment d'un article qui vous a été consacré par le Belgian Very Club, d'ailleurs, sur vos performances.
Oui, exactement. Comme Hugo en premier lieu avait été invité à rouler pour le Belgian VW Club, et puis après comme ça s'est bien passé, on s'est très bien entendu avec Hugo, du coup on a étendu un petit peu l'accord pour que je roule aussi avec le Belgian VW Club, et de ce fait il y a eu un article qui est sorti en effet sur un petit peu comment tout ça s'est produit. Donc voilà, ouais, très content.
Ben, super. En tout cas, c'est mérité au vu de votre très belle performance. On espère que ça continuera comme ça jusqu'au terme du championnat. Chaz, I don't know if you want to add anything or to any of the drivers that we have before we wrap things up.
Congrats, guys, because it was a lot of fun. Some really, really close racing out there, especially to you No Limits Racing boys, because honestly, I was saying it on the stream as well. You guys do not care if your teammates. You'll battle with anyone, won't you? It was just...
Yeah, we honestly, will. Yeah, exactly.
It was
Everyone's
great.
an enemy.
Yeah, that was it. Well, even though, usually in motorsport, if you see teammates come up near each other and there's somebody ahead, like when obviously Max was in front of you, you were thinking some of these guys will probably just try and work together and go forward. Nah, that was all thrown out the window completely. You guys were sending it all over the place on each other, a bit of contact here and there. It was great. So, yeah, really, really good entertaining racing that.
Yeah, we had a lot of teeth-grinding moments, but it was a lot of fun. And we were thinking, well, especially for us three, not talking about Louis and Riley, but once we saw that Louis and Riley were really in a different league, we were just trying to put on a show and battle with Max. And I think we got out a lot more fun than if we tried to catch those two, which we eventually couldn't manage because they were absolutely bonkers fast.
Yeah. So. Riley was the man to beat today. Obviously was fast in qualifying, and he was the fastest man on the track in race 1. And as soon as I figured out how to take the first 2 corners, as I was chasing him actually in the first first race, I was just trying to figure out how he was being so quick, and try to replicate what I learned in race 1 and try to do in race 2. But it was he was still catching me on in the second race.
Yeah, we were quicker in different parts of the track, I think, because you were quicker towards the latter half of the lap. So I was like, what are you doing around this corner? Because I couldn't quite see you. And eventually I kind of figured out, so I was able to go even quicker. But yeah, I learned a bit off you as well, so that's good.
To be honest with you, we tried to do the same thing, but you were so far ahead, we really couldn't see what you were doing. So that's what we tried, but we didn't manage.
All right.
Certainly interesting to watch, though, boys. So thank you very much for that one.
Yeah, thank you very much once again. Merci à tous en tout cas de nous avoir à nouveau offert ce si beau spectacle en piste, et on espère évidemment vous retrouver tout aussi motivés pour dans 2 semaines la prochaine épreuve qui sera d'ailleurs sur le tracé. J'ai un petit trou de mémoire juste maintenant vu que Dubaï a été déplacé. Next one is happening on the Marina, Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Abu Dhabi.
I'll see you there,
Thanks. Thank you very much, guys. See you in Abu Dhabi in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye.
Allez, bonne soirée à tous. See you guys. Thanks.
Bonne soirée. Merci à tous. Au revoir.
Au revoir.